The view from where we sit is gorgeous, even if we don't fit inside your little portrait. The big picture is enormous, so we don't even have to fit. We after it, true purpose, yeah, we have to get. We mastered it, reporting it live from Black Pew, discussing politics, the culture, and laughing at you. Cause you don't understand the viewpoint, don't mean you up by a few points. You just ain't hip to these new joints we on. The world says to follow they pitch, we set the tone, then we knock it over the fence. Oh yes, it's gone. Them haters screaming loud from the bench. They get the bat and try to copy technique, but they miss the point that I mentioned earlier. I see that you observing the way I strangle this beat. Oh yeah, I'm a murderer. Enough of me, let's get back to this gorgeous view. I hope that you enjoyed the show. Welcome to the Black Pew.
Welcome to the Black Pew podcast. We are in here with the crew. We got everybody in here, just about. We got we missing the light skinned folks today.
We got some light skinned folks.
I know, right? No, how's everybody doing today?
Good.
Oh man, blessed, man. I'm blessed.
Everybody have a good week. Anybody?
Fantasy team is booming.
This dude, the fantasy. People making money off of that though. I didn't know people made a lot of money off of it.
I didn't know that either.
It is worth it. If you win, it's worth it. I'm struggling.
I'm doing good.
I struggled for a couple of years. I've been having a couple of years, so you know it is. You do lose money, you know. Mm-hmm. But when you win.
No, see, that's why I can't do nothing like that because I'm like, first of all, I'll forget, and my team will be the same one from like the preseason. Next thing I'm like, you lost, like, oh dang, I forgot, I was supposed to be doing fantasy football.
Right. Anything's gonna cause me to lose money. You said I'm gonna lose money.
Yeah.
Oh, see, check this out. Like the Bible says, where it says, what you treasure, your heart follows. Yeah. Okay, so. Your money's in it. You gonna set notifications. Yeah. You ain't gonna. It ain't gonna. Check this out. I got 2 players that didn't have games this week. Mm-hmm. Now the rookie Marvin fantasy football player would have forgot. They would have played. I would have played them. And then no points, right? But I got notifications now, so it's like, hey, you got players with no games this week. Right. So earlier this week, I'm willing and dealing. Hey, let me get somebody waiver wire. Oh yeah,
that's good though because you didn't. Of the year, so you didn't bury your talents. You know what I'm saying? You put them to work. You made them multiply.
I didn't bury my money.
Yeah.
I guess
that's what it is. That's what talents is. Money.
That's
what money.
Yeah. I know. I didn't. I put them to work.
Yeah. That's good.
But I wonder if they knew.
Rookie year, I buried the talents. Okay, it was rough. Okay.
I wonder if they knew when they was writing that, like talent can mean in the future. Talents can mean something else.
I think they knew that.
Like, that's what I always figured. I was like, it can correlate directly to talent and talent, just like
anything.
Yep.
So,
just like when they reference like man, like a lot of times it wasn't just man.
The man, it was the people. Yeah,
humanity.
It was humanity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But let's get into these topics. The biggest one, or one of the biggest ones right now, is the Astroworld. Travis Scott, they had the huge festival down in, is it Texas? It was Houston. Was it Houston?
Yeah.
And some people, like, rest in peace to the people who passed away. Some people got injured. Yep. 8 people died there. And then a 9th person died at the hospital. Like, yeah.
Was it the baby?
No, it was I think.
9-year-old?
I think it was. I think the 9-year-old was like the 8th, and then there was another adult.
Cause I thought the 9-year-old was in critical condition.
Was that was?
Yeah, I thought
it might have been.
Went to the hospital.
Yeah. I think a younger kid died too, though, didn't he?
But eventually, I think he went to the hospital. But
yeah.
Because I think that. That's why the parent just came out and spoke, because I think that he was in ICU.
He was the one. Oh, okay.
And so they waited to see what was going to happen with them before they came out.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Was he trampled? What?
A lot of people were.
Probably,
Yeah,
I probably were.
Everybody,
Yeah, and
I think everybody that died was.
But here's the thing: in those kind of arenas, and in those kind of arenas, there's going to be damage done. You know what I'm saying? Like everyone's standing, nobody's sitting down, and people with their herd mentality are going to crowd. They're going to push. They're going to get excited. And do I think that alleviates his responsibility in all of it? No, because you have to make sure that you are guiding the crowd, that your words aren't sparking it, right? But at the same time, you also can't just stop because then you risk riots. So you do have to be mindful that in these situations that
I think
somebody's going to get hurt.
So there's many a times where the police or the fire station has came in and went to the sound person and said, "Cut the sound."
Yeah, yeah.
Stop the show. Cut the sound.
Yeah, true.
Okay.
And so I believe that's what they should have done.
I agree.
Going on with it is more inciting the crowd, because now it's not even just the pushing and the shoving. Now you got people who are hyped, and I mean, so it's a different situation. You got people who are fighting for their lives, and then you have people who are just inciting, violence and chaos. And so,
Right.
It's not stop the show.
It's not like they was on lockdown down there. You know what I'm saying? Like I understand, like cats in the house for like a year, wanting to get out. But Texas, they've been wide open.
Yeah, true.
They never
Right.
been
What
COVID.
No, they was
COVID?
Yeah, they was kind of
had
like
COVID.
it's kind of COVID, but they was like we still
It wasn't
doing
no
just
kind
about
of
everything.
COVID. It wasn't no kind of COVID. It was like it was a long flu season. We had a long flu season this year.
Well, nobody getting texted. They won't worry about that.
Go get your flu shot.
But I think for one of the things is like the situations, like there could have been a lot more people dead on one hand, but also could have been a lot better organized, because they said that the surge,
A lot of people to blame.
yeah, and
A lot of people to
and the surge from one stage to the next is why like everybody rushed over there. And then they had video of they had some video came out of Travis like stopping the show and helping, like pointing to some people.
It was a person who passed out.
Yeah, and
there's a bunch of different stories going on.
Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah.
this was a bad event.
Yeah,
Because though you had that going on, you had the security guard who had got drugged.
Yep.
You had people getting drugged there, stuck in the neck with needles. So it's a lot going on. It was a lot going on there.
And then the video of do you see the video of the security? It was police and security.
The security guard was going to grab somebody and he got stuck. But I don't know.
Oh no, there's a video of like 10 or 15 security, police, and whatnot at the time that people were getting trampled. So it's not like
It was Live Nation.
yeah. So it wasn't like everybody knew. Oh shoot! There's something bad going on. Let's stop the show. Like it was like
Too many people to control.
yeah,
Like,
there's
like I
some-
said, it was
yeah.
a bad.
Bad-
It was just
bad
bad.
venue.
Somebody was
You
going to
know,
get
you
hurt.
know
Terrible
what would have stopped
venue.
the show though? Is that they would have pepper sprayed, bro. Like you used to go to the club, bro. They would pepper spray.
Yeah.
Everybody,
There's ways that
Clear up out of there.
But and that's a give or take too, because
Yeah.
when you pepper spray, I think you can lose a lot more people there, because now you got people blindly stampeding, instead of seeing where they're
that
going.
is true. That is true.
I just think that a lot of people take blame. City of Houston has to take blame for this one. Travis Scott has to take blame for this. The police, the fire department, Live Nation, everybody has to take blame for this. There was too many people at the venue, and that's just it's going to change the way concerts are going to be approached now. You're going to have to. It's going to change the capacity that we're going to.
Yeah.
It's going to change the capacity levels of some of these venues, and it's going to change the way that festivals are at outdoor venues, because it's harder to control outdoor venues. And so
is.
it's just going to change the landscape of all of that.
But that's a good thing if it's going to stop people getting hurt. I think I remember reading somewhere that at festivals like that, there's always multiple people that get hurt. For whatever reason, this one just caught a lot of blowback. But no, said if this is going to make people now stop, and have to pay more attention or make sure there's more security or whatever the case. No, good.
Then good.
Checking
Yeah.
the ages too. I just feel like 9 years old, Travis Scott. That's a bit much.
Yeah.
You know
I
the
did.
type of crowd.
I did feel the same way. I ain't gonna lie.
The crowd.
I
Yeah,
feel for the
that's too
baby,
much.
but I don't know why you was 10 at Travis Scott. I'm sorry about
I
that.
saw
Yeah,
people
yeah.
That's a
younger.
parent
I saw a
question,
baby on
because I
somebody's
agree.
hip
Yeah.
But
when they were leaving.
But I was at BJ the Chicago Kid.
And you was wrong. How
No.
old was you? 9?
No. I was grown. You feel me? But I did see a 1-year-old baby at the BJ Chicago
That's
Kid,
what
and we
I'm
was in the
saying.
bar. I was
What?
on everything
In
I
the
love.
bar?
On everything I love, I got Carter to go in there, and I was like, you know, I thought he had Benjamin Buttons or something at first.
At the bar?
Yes.
You were in Illinois?
No, I'm out here. I was at he came to the what's it, the in Fremont, the one venue.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Toby
Yeah.
was at.
Yeah.
So I'm there. I go see BJ the Chicago Kid, and so I'm sitting against the bar, and I'm thinking maybe I smoked a little too much or something like that, or drank a little too much or something like that. Maybe I'm seeing stuff, but she had a holster on it, and it was a baby in there. I was like, maybe it's a fake baby, right?
us to
And so I
do
said,
better.
hey, lady, is that a baby? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, dang it, how did a baby get in here? Because I got Carter to get in.
I hate you.
And so I was like, can I take a picture with the baby? So she let me take a picture with the baby, which at the end I thought was irresponsible on her end, because you ain't supposed to have this baby in here. And I thought
Right.
if she was black, they'd have CPS on her ass.
Oh,
she
yeah,
was
you
white.
drinking
Yeah, it's a white lady. It's a white lady too.
I'm surprised she even
BJ
let you
Chicago
take.
Kid said something, because so he's getting ready to do happy birthday. And so he's like, whose birthday is it in here? And so everybody, and then somebody, they up in the VIP, and he said, it's the baby's birthday.
That's crazy.
And I was like, whoa, and yeah, baby in the club. So it happens.
Yeah. But I think also if you're like, hey, like say you're at the I can't pronounce it, the P Town Festival, the State Fair.
Yellow.
Yeah, I can't say it. I never can say it.
He said P-Town.
Yeah.
Wow, I've never even heard it called P-Town.
Yeah. I can't pronounce it. That's why I say it. But say if you're there, like this year,
Michigan
there was
public schools.
Yeah. There was it's hard to say. Like, if
They wasn't saying sound it. They wasn't teaching you to sound it out.
no, you can.
Clap when you say
But
it.
it like say there was Ice Cube there, but there was also like Carrie Underwood and stuff,
Yeah.
and so you can see how if you're like, hey, let's go see Carrie Underwood, and they're like, oh, Ice Cube's there too. Let's just stay and watch the Ice Cube show. And, sometimes them festival people are not caring. They just want the money.
Here last week.
It was hairstyles. I think it was hairstyles, and it was
here. I was like,
and it was a bunch of people.
Came out. I was like, oh my goodness! It was every corner.
Yeah, they came out like crazy, and
So,
so
boppers and glitter clothes.
yeah, they was all over. So yeah,
I thought it was a Halloween party at
I
first.
did too.
I was like, I thought Halloween's over.
Come
I
on.
said, Halloween is over. They have a Halloween party still. And I looked online and it said Harry Styles. I said, oh yeah, that's why they came.
But they was dressed up like crazy.
Yeah,
Well,
Them
they had
was-
glitter coats and everything.
Yeah, this lady, she
don't know
walked
where
down the
that
hall,
is.
down the
I'm
street.
knowing that.
She didn't have nothing on. I was like, okay, where you going? Like, because you're not going to the concert in
I
that.
asked them too. I said, where are y'all going? Who is it?
Yeah,
Y'all dressed for Prince. That's how I felt.
It took me like 20 minutes to get out the parking spot.
yeah,
Man.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. They wasn't. They
Who
wasn't playing.
y'all? So who y'all think gonna take the heat for the lawsuits coming and stuff? So like
Travis is already going to take it.
I remember,
coming for
He
Travis.
already got, but he already see what he did was, and what I said he shouldn't have did was he shouldn't have started giving the money back. Because once he started giving the money back, that's an admission of guilt. That's right there. That's a part,
got
that's
us-
a part of an admission of guilt. One, you should have saved it for your legal defense. I
Yeah,
think that's what
yeah.
you should have did.
And he
You
got
say,
us-
you know what? I'm putting it back towards that because I'm gonna have to.
Because y'all are
I'm
coming
gonna
for
have to.
Yeah.
I'm going to. Is legal things are gonna come my way. I'm gonna have to
Right.
fight for. I need to use. I need the money. Well, maybe you don't take that much of a loss in your personal because you got money for that. But giving it back is now you're taking a double loss. Because now if you got to pay out again, you done gave all the money back from Astroworld,
Right.
plus you paying out whoever you go, because that baby's family, they gonna want a bag.
Yeah.
You know?
True.
And them 8 other people, they gonna want a bag.
Plus the people who got injured, if they got injured,
want a bag.
yeah. Say I can't work.
Or I may not go to another concert in my life because now I got traumatic experience.
Yep.
You know, and so they want a bag. You know, it's gonna happen. You know,
He got it. Well, there was like a spokesperson that came out for him after this week that came out after he said something. They came and said another thing. So it's just like he's gonna take a lot of the fall. He might file for bankruptcy, but the insurance. That's kind of why they have insurance.
But the insurance is
only so much.
So the venue's insurance was only like $26 million. So it's not going to be.
And it's going to be a class action.
It's not gonna. Yeah. They're gonna have to band together like Megatron to do. They're gonna like the Power Rangers or something like that to do it.
But I was reading an article that had said that this is common for him though. That this has happened in years before too, where people had been injured. That he's already in a lawsuit for something that happened a couple years ago with some chick who's paralyzed.
Some people think what his music is kind of like starting to be satanic, and
I don't know. I'm gonna be honest.
They got this other end of they're talking about like the tone of the music that he was using. So you got that other side of it too. I'm not talking about his music.
When I seen the crowd, I was like, "This many people listen to Travis Scott."
Yeah.
Or did y'all just get caught up in the festival and ended up there? Because I have never once heard any of his songs. I have no idea. Outside of knowing that he has a baby with the girl, I have no idea who this man is.
I thought he was
dating the Kardashians.
Yeah, it's Kylie, the younger one.
Yeah, I just knew he was more popular for his like shoe collabs with Nike and Jordan. That's what he was popular to me.
I didn't know he was that popular. Here's the thing. I'm just now finding all that out. I didn't even know he was that popular. The hell is shit?
Yeah.
Well, it seemed like he came out of nowhere. It seemed like he came out of nowhere and just like.
Well, it wasn't for most. That's what a lot of people. It's mostly not from music that he's made. It's mostly from stuff he's produced.
Oh, okay.
No idea.
Like a lot of people become big from like a lot of that. You know, I mean, something like.
Would y'all go as far as to say this is like the consequence of like idolization? I mean, like I'm just thinking of the people that was freaking pushing and stuff.
It is the consequence of idolization.
You know, like just to get to whether they were getting to the stage or whatever. I don't know their intention.
Well, they were saying that it was in. I don't believe it's not 100% sure. I got to look more into it. They're saying that the way that the venue was set up, they couldn't control on who was ticketed, who wasn't, who was supposed to be where, and what not. And so that was the bad part of it in itself. So it was a venue that for that many people was already going to be hard for you to control. And I think that there is events that they could have learned from in the past that had this same problem. But he just did an event and it took it to the next level. And so it's
I was thinking like
start a concert when you saw the capacity was ridiculous to the point that people couldn't even move.
Well, it was that there was 2 stages. I'm pretty sure there was 2 stages, and the second stage let out, but he had started, and so they were like, "Oh shoot, Travis is on. We just got done watching Lotto or somebody else like that. Oh shoot, we got to go see Travis because he started," versus saying, "Hey, let's put a little break in Travis's. Let's let them get done, and then over here, let's not let them start until we get everybody clear out this area." But also, like once you can't control one, you can't control what these people do. Right. You're not gonna be able to control where these people go when they come on this side.
And to the artist's defense, like when the production is going on, you got all these lights in your face. Yep. You can't see very far into the
exactly.
venue.
It's
so
super
you can
dark
only
out
see
there.
what's going on right there in the immediate.
You can't.
You can't really see what's really going on out
there.
there.
You can see those people in the front.
No, true.
Well, yeah, but on probably just the ones in the front. But you can't see everybody.
You have to imagine what's going on further if this crowding is going on and people are yelling help.
But you can't hear.
You can't hear none of that.
You can't hear. You can't see a lot of that because you're where the system is. You're where all the sound is, and so that's why there's a lot of blame to go around because there's professionals whose job is to be at that venue and say, you know what, this is going to be unsafe. We got to stop this right now, and so. They didn't go. They didn't pull the sound. They didn't do any of that. Like,
Yeah, because they could have cut it. They could have cut it. Because he also, people are like, he couldn't hear them screaming. Like, he has the inner ear monitors, which has music,
his feedback to him, so
has everything in it. Because usually when you're at a regular concert, there's the monitors up front that play the music, your music back to you, so you can know where you are. Now it's more advanced where they want to move. They want to move there, so they have the inner ear monitors that has everything in it. That means including their lyrics, their music, everything loud enough so they can still keep going with the noise and everything. So it's like if I have something, I'm not gonna be able to be like hear that person saying help, help, help. I thought you were just singing my song.
Like let's just put ourselves in the shoes of the people that's stampeding or whatever. It's like, man, we got our feet on flat ground right now. How you don't feel somebody's under you?
Thank you. I saw a whole footprint on this girl's face.
So check this out though, and so it's not. I wouldn't say that's 100% fair, because even if you feel somebody, even if you feel somebody under you, there's no way to stop. Like if you stop,
people
you
still
just
pushing
got
you.
hundreds of people behind you pushing you forward. So the only thing you can do is to try to move with that crowd. If you do not move with that crowd, you're going to be one of the trampled. And I mean, there was a guy who talked about saving his. There was a guy who talked about saving his brother, and his brother got trapped into, and it was nothing that they can do.
Yeah,
and he was one of the 8, and so it's hard, but. Yeah, once that happens, it's like free for all, and move like the bull run is the bull, like the bull run. They unleash all them bulls. You better get out the way.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, or get trampled.
Except bulls don't have. I mean, I don't think they got brains like that. I mean, if you're looking at wise mind versus the emotional side of your brain versus the logic side of your brain, if people were able to listen to the logic side of their brain. Exactly. There were too many people to do that. Most people were in the emotional fear state, a flight state.
Yeah. Everybody was just reacting.
Right. Yes,
exactly. If you got 5,000 people, 5,000 people behind you, and like 5,000 people in front of you, it's hard for you to stop. That's why I was thinking like
gonna be Mufasa in the Lion King.
Yeah.
Or Black folks. Anytime we hear something,
right?
He said Mufasa.
Right.
Let's be real. Everybody's jerking. We out. We don't ask questions. We don't look for nothing after that. We running with you. We're not gonna be the one.
That is true. Even if we hear, that's why. That's funny. That's true. I didn't even think about that. Like if it's like Black folks will run, even if we just. If somebody yells,
most Black folks ain't gonna say nothing. They just gonna take off running. Mm-hmm. They don't want to be the one to get caught. You better pay attention. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
That's true.
That's why these indoor venues with seating and everything like that, when people are doing these arenas and everything like that, they're gonna start being more attractive. Yeah, they're gonna start becoming more attractive. People are gonna start doing because it's a more controlled environment. And
then the price is gonna go up too. Yeah, price is gonna go up too because the artist's gonna be like. I'm not having that happen again. I'm not going to be anywhere near that situation. So, and the insurance is going to be like, oh, we want double. So they're like, oh, they're going to put it.
Permitting is going to change. Yep. Permits for it's going to change. The qualifications for the permits are going to change.
Yep.
There's going to be more requirements to
inflation,
as far as having a plan, security,
I hope all that happens because it don't make sense.
And I think the city's gonna start backing out of using their own personal police and having your own security to do it, because they are going to do whatever it takes to start to remove themselves from liability. Because in this situation, a lot of people, especially city employees and the city itself, is going to have to take a blame for this.
Then they gonna stop giving hip hop shows.
Right. True.
Like, hey,
that's gonna be the first.
I ain't gonna lie. I was in my head. I was just thinking. I was like, they're gonna start making us do ours virtual.
Yeah.
They seen the pandemic and everything. Y'all gonna have to do y'all's where everybody stay at their house.
Yeah. Well, because they say that they'll look and say, oh, it was the hip hop, or that's a hip hop like thing. Like there's always fights. There's always something happening. And this one, shooting or something like that. And that is why we don't want to have these type of concerts. Mm-hmm. So
we don't have it at them country shows in Texas.
That's
No,
You ain't said nothing but a word. You know they're thinking that. We ain't never had that in a Taylor Swift concert.
That's not true. They had shooting. That guy came through and shot all them people in the back of that concert.
What concert?
This was, I think, like a year and a half ago, and it was outdoor.
Yeah,
concert.
that was at Vegas, right? Was it Vegas?
Oh
Shot 'em
yeah.
off.
And like, well, that's a mental health thing, but versus a
Them.
mob mentality.
Yeah, they would say that.
Yeah, playing.
I can see that.
Yeah, he went smoking aces on their ass. He has. I mean, what you talking about? He was up in with the 50K. He had a room and everything.
He did. And I feel like we didn't hear the end of that.
Yeah.
No, they didn't even
Hold on a
continue.
second. But yeah, smoking aces.
I mean, with smoking aces on them.
That was like one of them cruel Chappelle jokes.
Yes, that was very yes. But we're gonna switch this topic.
I'm Chappelle-esque.
How does everybody feel about this Rittenhouse case that's going on right now?
He's a little white boy that cried about what he did. I mean, what are you talking about? They said too many black pastors gonna be in the room because they want to.
No, that was a different one. That was the.
Oh no, that's the.
That's the.
That's
Yeah.
Aubrey. I'm tripping. But he cried on the stand. He been crying like a little baby the whole trial. And I think I think his legal team told him, "You young. If you get on the stand and you cry like a baby, they may be sympathetic to you." And I think that's what's gonna happen. They're gonna be a little lenient when they.
And they saw him.
He was like what 17. I mean, he is a baby. Like your brain don't fully develop till you're 25. You know, so like either way, like he's still a super young kid. Like imagine you being 17 in that situation.
They gonna try me as an adult because guess what?
Yeah.
I mean, so and this is why I do love Dave Chappelle because he talked about in one of his specials a 14-year-old boy that suplexed his neighbor's baby because he was watching. I mean, he was practicing he was practicing a wrestling move that The Rock did or something like that. Suplexed her and killed her on an accident. Little boy tried him as an adult. So I'm saying, like, when we make mistakes, as young black men, when we make mistakes, they hold us to the highest standards. He did that with intent. He was running around with all them white dudes, arming up, getting ammos with rifles. They went out there
after
with
curfew.
intent.
Don't forget the fact that he was after his age curfew means that you went in there.
He killed white.
Hold on.
To hurt.
And not only just that, you were across state lines where you lived. So you left your home state. You crossed state lines. You went and militarized with these people, and then you shot not self-defense, but you gunned down people at a route, which was at a peaceful route at that point.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So
but what I'm saying is
that
it's not about. I'm not talking about the disparities or the disproportionality. I'm talking about if you were 17 in that type of situation, that intense type of court situation. I mean, like that's intense, man. That's an intense situation for a 17, 18-year-old.
People.
Yeah.
Well, he
didn't cry when that bullet went into somebody and it took their life.
Yeah.
Right.
And those,
that's what I'm saying. That's intense. Have you ever seen somebody? I'm pretty sure you've seen somebody get shot before.
Yeah.
Or you seen that's intense.
Yeah, it is.
Those moments that when I've seen that have never left my psyche. I see it sometimes when it doesn't even happen because it's that intense. And I wasn't even the person who pulled the trigger. So for you to go and do it, to see the bullet go through somebody's flesh, to not do it to just one person, but 2 people, 3 people, like to do that, you got to take the consequences of your action. And then he went home thinking that it was going to be.
He went home.
He's crying because he got caught.
That's it. And he's crying. He was on trial because he was in the middle of them. He got out on bail. What was the first thing he did? Was at the bar with a shirt that says "Free as F." Like, okay, where is that same energy? Where is that same energy now that you're on trial? Like, oh, it's flipped around, and we see him crying, and he's looking like, and like looking at the jury, like,
it's not coming out his nose.
So somebody try to grab your gun. What would you do?
When we're telling parents and stuff, like children should be accountable after the age of 13. You shouldn't be able to know any information about them medically. Like if you're telling me a child is mentally there at 13, then killing somebody at 17, you're a parent at 17. Some children, I know I was, and I know I was mentally stable enough to do what I did and I handled my business. You can't tell me that child did not understand and know what he was doing.
No difference between right and wrong.
So if somebody try to grab
Right
somebody
and
try to
wrong.
grab your gun in the middle of chaos, what would you do?
If somebody tried to grab my gun in the middle of chaos, I'm finna fight for my gun.
but I think also the question I had down was when we look at this like through our lens of us being black.
But okay,
versus
but I'll tell you this: if you were, all right, say you and a bunch of your homeboys at your house, right? Say you in the front yard, right?
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you see 3 dudes with rifles walking up to your property. And they cross the threshold of that. What are you gonna do? You just gonna let them stand there with them rifles?
But that's
what's your reaction gonna be? Is you just gonna stand there? Or are you gonna try to defend what somebody's now threatening with force? Because that's what that is. We're talking about people who didn't have weapons. But you got people who now with weapons coming and saying, we're going to disrupt what you're doing with force. We're coming to intimidate you now with force. Go home or we will shoot you.
Yeah. So in some of the videos, he was fleeing. There was videos of him fleeing away from people.
But why didn't he stay away?
First of all, why'd you cross the state lines? First of all, you're 17. You had a curfew. Why are you here? Period. Let's get that out the way now. Why are you here? So not even just you fleeing, you're not supposed to be here. It is after your curfew and it is over state lines.
There's a lot of choices.
I don't understand.
That my man made on the way.
No, we got not.
So, I hear you, but I'm just like, okay, where was your mother? First of all, how were you allowed to get out of the house?
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. How it's like you're talking about the self-defense. His claim of self-defense. I think his claim of self-defense runs up to our.
Well, there is one guy that had a gun though. Another guy had a gun that he shot.
But how many of them?
One of them. One of the 3. Yeah.
But I think it runs up against our, hey, why were you there in the first place, and what were you doing? What were you doing? Where people were like, "Yo, you've got a gun," launching at you with, trying to stop you with your gun, and you feeling like you had to. Because if you go in somewhere. If I go in somewhere with an AK and it's a really tense situation, people are going to look at me like, first of all, what are you doing here?
Yeah. Like it's premeditated.
Yeah, if I go to if you're in that, they say you're in that the crowd, the Astroworld crowd, and I come in there with an AK and I'm like I'm keeping the force.
You ain't got no.
And you ain't got
hired
no
by security or police or nothing.
You at a certain point, people are like, "Yo, what are you doing here?" And why? You shouldn't be here. And
we'll put it this way: we see white men militarize themselves and arm up with rifles and have rallies. Whenever you see black men do that, it immediately is threatening. We see many stories of them being met with force because they've militarized it. So it's become this point to where it's like, if you're white, it's okay for you to walk around and police everybody else because that's like a right to white privilege. You can police everybody. We've seen that with the George Zimmerman. We see it on and on and on and on again. Is that it's white vigilantes. White vigilantes. We're not talking about police officers. We're not talking about military, active duty. We're not talking about any of that. We're talking about vigilantes in America are going around murdering people. And there's a standard for your classism or the skin color on how you get treated. Ahmaud Arbery, which I was getting, but at the same time, they're fighting for that. We have to say they allegedly killed this man because of what's going on, even though we all seen the footage.
Yeah, we all seen the footage. We know the facts. They even told the facts because they thought they weren't going to ever get prosecuted. And when they telling all on themselves, saying, "Oh yeah, we didn't really actually say we were like all these things." The facts of the case look damning every chance, every time it comes up. In this case, now they look worse and worse, and it's like
told the prosecution.
In that case. With the amount, and
you got a white woman right now in Frisco, Texas. She's doing 2 months because she was in the January 6th insurrection.
Yeah.
And she came out and said, "This is why she's doing 2 months. I'm white and I'm blind. They ain't gonna do nothing to me."
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with the disproportionality.
Her consequence is only 2 months. For the insurrection.
I thought it was 6. It was 60 days. Oh, that's right. Okay, 60 days. Okay.
For the insurrection. But the theology that these people really have is you're supposed to operate in it and not say it. You know? And that's the thing. You saying it is letting the secret out. So yeah, you get a little slap on the wrist. But you're not supposed to say it. You just operate in it. And that's why he's playing the fiddle right now, and the violin is real heavy on his defense because he ain't doing nothing but crying and crying and crying. I made a mistake.
So let's do a thought experiment. So if Kyle Rittenhouse was black, and all three of those people were black people, they got killed because all three of them were white, right?
I think there was one black dude and two white men.
Okay. So if that was the situation, what do y'all think would happen?
I think we would say I think there is some difference in how we treat it as far as because it's race.
Held accountable to.
I think we would
we held accountable all the time. So we don't expect. Whenever we see us, we expect for us to be held accountable because that's what happens. When we see black dude did it, oh yeah, they finna hang dude.
Yeah,
that's our
have
mentality.
Have this conversation because they would have held him accountable.
Yeah.
He would have been arrested on the spot, and they would have started persecution, and they would have gone through the process. And so we're able to have this conversation because he wasn't black.
These black murders by the police, who are they holding accountable? Not the police, but the people that they killed. Oh, well, he shouldn't have been doing this, and he shouldn't have been doing that.
You know what's funny? It's funny because when all the riots, all the stuff was going on, people were always so quick to, well, why were the kids there in the first place? The one said we still have yet to really establish why he was there in the first place.
Yeah.
No,
right. But the first thing they asked, well, it's a riot. What would you? It was supposed to be a protest. Why would you bring your kids? Same.
I mean, a lot of things in this case isn't justifiable. You know what I'm saying? Like when I talk about it, I just talk about it in the sense of like, if I was in that situation, 17-year-old kid with a gun, and grown ass men coming at me. Best believe.
But that's you. But that's you, 17, leaving from wherever, Seattle, Tacoma, wherever, Washington.
Yeah.
Going down to Oregon. And then with intent to be a part of this militia.
Yeah.
You probably didn't have intent to go down here to kill. But you knew that you were going down there to do disruption because that's what you traveled so far to do. And so you came.
Because you didn't even need to bring.
I hear.
You came to speak and stop and throw your hand.
I wouldn't have to say. I don't say intent because we all know that guns are used for intimidation.
Yeah, I'd have brought my gun to a protest.
And so
too.
They used it for intimidation tactics. It was meant as an intimidation tactics for them to be in a group armed like that. But in the sense he traveled all that way. He grouped up with these grown ass men.
Yeah,
and
he did.
And they should take blame for him too. They should be on trial too, because these grown ass men then gave him ammo and all that, and got him all riled up. You feel me?
But that does speak to what he was saying. Like at 17, sometimes, especially because they say that boys don't mature as quickly. So at 17, because of all of
I'm not
You
doing
right.
that.
I agree with you.
I'm striking that from the record.
But at 17, knowing how even when you watch sports and when the testosterone gets up and all of the energy and all of the stuff. So at 17, to your point, with all of the energy that's already going on, whether his intent was to murder or not, it was going to happen because you don't know logic yet, or you do, but not to on top of the fact of white privilege and entitlement and all that other stuff.
And
none of the adults there are really helping you because they're all riled up and beating their chest.
I think it's more peer pressure, but you do there is this essence of mystique because these guys are older than you,
right?
And you are allowed to be the younger one around this group of men, right. And so there is that is, but I think at 17, you do know the difference between right and wrong.
Yes,
and people egging you up to. Like I said, I don't believe that there was an intent to necessarily go out there and just start gunning people down.
Because he would have did it.
He didn't go hunting, but it is what happened.
But by using, they say you live by one, you die by one, or in reality, he's being crucified by one because he went out there with something that the other side necessarily didn't have by the masses. They went out there, like I said, they militarized, they ammoed up. And they went out there, and eventually people have lost their lives because of what they had for their defense against the people who didn't really have at their defense.
Have the others been prosecuted yet?
No, but they should.
Have y'all looked at the criminal history of those who got shot?
Well, I don't think that's
relevant.
That's the thing. That's a trick. I think that's a trick that
he jaywalked. He jaywalked in 1996. He deserved it.
I think one of them was raping a child or something.
But
I don't know if that's a rumor or what.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. We can't if we're going to do that. If we're gonna do that, you open up a whole different can of worms because first of all, if you're saying it was are you going out there hunting for certain people? So if you're saying that this person was because of the stuff they had in their past, can we call it murder now? Because you went out there and murdered them, and because of their past. Because we're not gonna talk about past. Then that's straight up murder. It's not a defense. This defense. So you're saying, I'm going to protect.
He didn't know that person, and he did not know that person's
He didn't know that.
past.
He didn't know that.
It's not like he went there and said, this person got off with rape, and I'm going to go over here and kill him to justify the system not doing the job. The system eventually does their job. Look at OJ and R. Kelly. I'm just saying. So they eventually try to do their job, but in that sense. He went in there not knowing these people. People lost their lives, and
they still had dignity,
more of the advantage because they had more. They had bigger guns, more ammo. You're talking about a dude with a handgun that had it on him, probably just in case something happened, But it was like a pea shooter to a cannon at that situation.
Right. But I think if Kyle was black, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Because first of all, there would not have been almost national rally cry for them to set up merch for him for childhood actors who fundraised for him. People who posted bail for him, black kids, and I think it's.
We say that nigga deserved to be in jail.
Deserved
to be in jail. Because you get pimped.
Black people, a lot of times we would have been like, oh, okay.
But you have to think about it. In society, we already know that black parents, they usually hold their children accountable for everything they do. So I feel like with the law, they try to do the same thing whereas most white parents, they don't. He didn't mean it. And that's how the police do them too. Mm-hmm. They didn't mean it. So,
He's white. He didn't really mean it. He's pure.
Yeah.
They feel like they can do whatever they want because they know I can beat you. Your mama was going to beat you anyway. Yep. You know what I mean?
The New York Times ran a story saying how he was a good kid and how he was this and he
New
was
York Times.
The New York Times is horrible.
They help raise
I'm sorry.
Right?
Was it the time? I think it was the Times. Their reporting is horrible because it was just like
I thought they were pretty liberal.
It might have
George Floyd. It was like, he uses drugs and stuff like that.
George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery. They were like, yo, these people did this, and this is probably why they died. And with Rittenhouse,
was it New York Times or New York Post?
Black kids
it might have been. It might have been a post. It might have been a post.
Black kids be dying and be like, they was out here stealing candy bars and everything like that. They deserved it.
Yeah. And SATs.
Yeah, I saw an article that said that he went there because he had aspirations. He has aspirations of being a medic. Someone who killed 2 people.
So what was he? So what was he trying to do?
Right. Let me practice on you real quick.
Pull a bullet out real quick. You feel me?
Trying some field practice, man.
Won't they reach? They reaching. They just reaching right now. They reaching.
Sew him up real quick.
They got to and then the judge don't help. The judge is not helping in any case. The judge,
of course,
the judge got his phone on.
Look at that poor little white boy crying.
The judge,
because if he was a black kid, he'd be like, he knew exactly what he was doing. Them black kids don't mean nothing.
Right.
You feel me?
Yeah.
And poor little white boy crying.
And for the record, like, I believe like all those people that got injured, killed, have human dignity, regardless of what they did in the past. We all have a past or whatnot, and I don't take that from them. And I agree with y'all, but like in school, when you do debates, you have to learn how to debate the opposite side of.
I do all the time.
You know what I'm saying?
I do all the time. I just didn't want to play devil's advocate on this one. Not this one. Y'all ain't gonna drag me. They ain't gonna drag me for this one. This is not. Anyway, I'll fight from the corner, but this one, not fighting from the corner. Not.
That's true. I wanted to say, I wanted to ask y'all because it was on my list, but I've been thinking about it all weekend. I was listening to a bunch of like just different podcasts, and do you care about climate change? Because they had the huge climate thing. I forget where it was. It was CP. See,
that's where.
That's the thing.
Why do we continue to talk about this so everybody continue to be scared? You feel me? People start talking about, guess what? I can't get toilet paper at the grocery store because guess what? Somebody buying up all the toilet paper because they feel like a tsunami finna come. Like, what is toilet paper finna do if the tsunami anyway?
Like, it won't get
you buying up all the milk, all the eggs. What, you just gonna have a good breakfast and take a deuce after? Tsunami will come wash you away. You don't need all the toilet paper. You buying up all the bounty. It's supposed to soak up all the... Come on, man.
But is it something that we don't really, like, care about because it's not, because we know the people that it'll affect might be able to change it somehow? Or is it something that is too big for us to affect? So, like, if the mountain's too big, we can walk around it for right now.
If I told you had cancer and you died in 3 days, why are you gonna change your diet? And that's where we're at right now with climate change. That's
a fair point.
It's so now by 2030, 2035, everybody's gonna move to electric cars. Well, we've already done the damage. When you gonna stop? We still got trash fields. We got fracking still going on, and they don't want to pull back from that because there's a lot of blowback that's gonna go on. We got all these chemical plants and all this. Like, we're so far in.
This is my thing on climate change. So we kind of talked earlier a little bit about investments. I invest in oil because I knew this was going to happen. I saw this down the line. I'm profiting off of it. I invest a lot in nuclear energy. Nuclear energy has a negative rep because of it being used for war and such like that. But it's really the cleanest form of energy because it's carbon emission free. So now you have a lot of political. So a lot of things, like as far as like Tesla batteries, you need lithium, you need all these metals and rare earths that is scarce. And so like we're seeing like in California they're having rolling blackouts, all these different things because they try to like put the cart before the horse, and like these other renewable energy sources aren't sufficient enough. But if we were to go more to nuclear energy, we have plenty of, we can develop plenty of, but you've had politics, rule it out because of the sentiment around it. it could actually be sustainable.
It just has a bad name attached to it. Nuclear. When you say that, it's just a bad name. It's like it's a bad word. But it's more like it's.
But I feel like with oil, like oil, natural gas. The thing about that is that they're the big boys on the block. So when they collectively killed the electric cars the first time some tried to come out. Yeah, they were one of the reasons with automakers why we don't have electric car. Why it took so long for us to get electric cars, because for one, if you slow the development of something and you say, hey, it's easier for us to do for us to use oil, petroleum based products and everything, then why let's lobby for it to still for it to be easier. No, but I feel like what was I saying?
Climate change.
With the oil. Like oil is such a big boy that they control, like they lobby heavy. They got money, they got deep pockets to lobby everything. So you can't get, like, we could have had
We went to war for it.
Yeah, we could have had renewables. Renewables could have been used long ago. And to one of your points was that the rare earths that are in the lithium ion batteries, that is definitely a good point as to why we haven't, like, electric cars are going to be, they're just as hard on the planet, like not with emissions, but with, like, how we have to get them. But I think at the same time, the fact that with oil, with fracking, with drilling and all that stuff, we hurt so much of the planet right when it's done, and how the emissions from it hurts also. I think we have to have a conversation, because they've been at the forefront of fighting renewable energy. They've been at the forefront with saying, oh, we can't rely on wind power. What if the wind stops blowing? We can't rely on solar energy. What if what happens at night? And it's like some dumb questions when there's literally science, that there's scientific answers for all these questions. They just do it better at making people believe that the only way is to use petroleum-based products. The only way is to do natural gas.
But like my pushback to that is like, so I invest in the metals: platinum for hydrogen fuel cells, silver for solar panels. Rhodium went from $700 an ounce to over $16,000 an ounce because they started using them in catalytic converters. That's why people go catalytic converters.
I was about to say they're getting hit right now.
Yeah, because it has rhodium in it. And so that helped reduce the emissions. These metals are already rare. So like oil we had an oversupply. That's why oil went negative a barrel last year, because we had an oversupply. We have so much of it.
People weren't driving too.
Yeah. People weren't driving. Boats weren't, transporting and stuff like that. Ports were shut down.
We punked a lot of people for their oil too.
Yeah, we did. And I just think that, when you look at like places like China, with billions of people, right? So if lithium and all these other metals are super scarce, how are they going to be able to provide electric vehicles to all of those people? So like it comes a point where like the reality is like we either have to sacrifice our energy consumption. I mean, if some of us are willing to, go half the day without lights on or something, or we going to have to supplement it with the renewables and continue to use like coal and oil.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I think that can be done, but I think it's also like, is there enough will to stop stop
talking about solutions to climate
change?
No,
and that's the thing.
That's
the thing about
it.
You
talking about it's pretty much like saying, like a doctor telling you, hey, you got cancer, you got 3 days to live, and you're like, well, how am I gonna live these next 3 days? Mm-hmm. The best, What am I gonna do for the next 3 days? Well, guess what? Never been to Benihana's. Guess I'm going to Benihana's. Guess what? I'm gonna put everything up. Flying to Disneyland. Never been to Disneyland. Like, I mean, yeah, you could figure all these different ways but none of it's going to reverse the damage that's already been done. And so that's where we're at right now. Is where.
But when we look at it, do we talk about the damage that's been done, or do we just say, "I never went to the doctor"? Do we just say, "I never went to the doctor"? Like, I got until Saturday.
I think
something's gonna happen Saturday. I don't know what, but like
it's all. I mean, there's the only talks that I think that can really be have is what can we do to slow the process.
Yeah.
Not necessarily because everybody's having talks of what can we do to save the planet.
Yeah.
Guess what? They was asking to save the planet 30, 40, 50 years ago. Nobody was thinking about that. It was, I want my car to go faster. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, and so that's the thing. Like, that's the game. We had a chance. We didn't take the chance at the early diagnostic, and so now we're at this place to where it's like it's inevitable.
But
we might not experience it in our lifetime. Our kids may experience it. Their kids may. We don't know who's going to be able to experience it, but it's inevitable right now. How do we slow it? How do we extend the longevity of the earth with the problems that we already have?
I think it's highly, political too, because it's like when you look at it, like we got 350 million people versus like China, India with billions of people, right? And it's like, okay, is 350 million people really polluting the earth that bad when we sent a lot of our manufacturing over to China, Thailand, Taiwan, where these factories are polluting a lot of the air, and all this stuff. So like, is this really a political thing for the U.S., or are we really polluting the earth that bad?
But it is a political thing because just like you said, we sent all this stuff other places, but who runs it? We do.
Yeah.
And so it's still a political thing because regardless on who's managing it, we still are that power that is in control. We finance it. We can shut it down whenever we can. And even if you could say that's a lot of things that what Trump was talking about when he was running, talking about bringing companies back at the same time, like penalizing people who ship companies overseas because we do have that power. Like we do run a lot of this, or we do have the influence, if anything. And so,
we're one of the biggest. Even though we have 350 million people, we're still the
most wasteful.
We're the most wasteful, and we're the most we consume the most.
We're the biggest market.
Yeah, we're the biggest market. China's only bigger because they have 1 billion people, but at the same time, China's just realizing its power and it's still developing. Whereas we're like, hey, even though we have 350 million people, we have more people consuming those things than China does in certain spots.
I mean,
and we had, and like them having 1 billion people, a lot of those people live in rural areas. A lot of those people are not driving cars. A lot of those people
they're riding bikes and mopeds and stuff like that.
And same with India. India
they consume coal though. They consume coal for energy.
But I'll put it to this.
Yeah. So for lights and stuff.
Compare climate control to a place like Asia or China's population control. Because there was at one point where China was looking around and was like, you know what? We got too many people.
Yeah, you got one kid.
What? You only get one kid. That's it. That's all you can do. People was having more babies, hiding them, doing all different type of stuff, putting them in adoption and all different type of stuff, and they're killing babies and all. And now look at where they're at.
They removed that. They
just removed that.
But even then, it still became unmanageable at one point because the population still became out of control.
Yeah, and they removed it. Why? Because the country saw that they needed like if you look at Japan has an issue where they have more older people and people who are aging than they do younger people who are having families. Yeah, the younger people are having less kids. Yep. They're not getting married. They are living.
Asians.
Yeah, they're living for themselves. So China's seeing that also, and they're saying, "Hey, okay, you can have two or we were just joking. Yeah, we were just playing. Go ahead and have 2 and 3 kids.
Go back to humping, y'all.
Yeah. Because we need y'all to stay in this cycle and keep this money going so we can make more, so we can have more money in our system.
What if and this is just a little joke. What if there was like a little scheme behind it where they stopped playing like Chinese R&B, you know, all the stuff that made them all. It was like none of that going on around here. You know, we don't want no bump and grind. Like R. Kelly can't come tour here. Pre-allegation.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have something like that. I mean, they can really go on the internet.
Right.
If he had been smart, he probably would have stayed in one of them countries. If he
Stayed in Bali.
To
Stayed in Bali.
tell you the truth, on the internet,
He'd have went over there with
and
Russell
just because
Simmons.
I met, and I know this, they actually censor their porn.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, I know it too.
They censor the
You know,
porn.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
not
crazy.
even, not even worth watching.
They censor everything.
Yeah, it's not even worth watching.
How did wait?
Wait a minute. I didn't realize.
I'm just saying.
They censor their
First of all,
internet.
why do you
talking
know
about-
that?
I'm a real person. I don't know if people know. I know I'm a real person. I know I'm a real person. And if people are gonna be like,
He
I've
just-
never seen
he just
porn
saying
before,
what other
I say,
people
you
are
a bald
thinking.
face
Well, that's not
asking
it. I'm
people
just saying-
if they've watched porn. It's
Censored
like asking
porn.
if
I've
they've
never
ate
seen
a
censored
sandwich.
porn.
It's
I'm trying
all
to figure out
happening.
how. Like, what's the purpose at that point?
Censoring it?
Yeah.
Well, I guess, somebody still gets paid for making the movie, but I don't get any. I don't.
Well,
I didn't
they-
I'm just
watch
like,
that.
why would you censor?
They
Like,
censor a ton of stuff though. They
about
censor.
porn? Isn't that the purpose?
Like,
Yeah, they censor it. I was
To
like,
not be censored?
yeah.
But if you think that is
They're
one
like,
of
use
the
your imagination if it's that serious.
If-
you know?
if-
have a lot more.
The
if
imagination
you
station.
think if you think that is one of the things that ruined Western culture, that has ruined Western culture.
What, porn?
No, yeah, if you think that, if you no, I'm saying if you as a government thinks that, you're gonna try to block that. Just like a lot of free speech, a lot of stuff they censor,
yeah, you can't-
and
you're
you
a
can't
journalist,
say.
yeah.
I was just trying to imagine.
They got
porn.
social scores, all that stuff.
And then it's big old censored.
Oh yeah, no, well, they don't do it like
And then they
that.
take off her shirt to be a big old censored.
No, what they do the
Right.
pixel. They do the
Like,
pixels.
Why?
They do the pixels,
Or they-
so it's like if you grew up, you remember when you was, I don't know
The
anybody else, but when you was
pixelation,
like a
yeah.
kid
Yeah.
and the Hustler channel was all squiggly and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
That's so
It's just
weird.
their private parts that look like
Or
the
they-
Hustler channel.
Then just don't let it be there.
Or they
I
show it like
Let's
the
not
wind,
do it.
or they show a picture of the wind in the window moving when it's like when they get time
We
to go
went
do
from
it. And
climate change
afterward,
Hilarious.
Went
Sorry,
from
it was
climate
just the
change to
imagery.
Chinese porn. Which
Chinese
where we at now?
I was just saying.
Hilarious.
I was saying. The things we
It's
talk
affecting
about.
climate change.
We actually have
All right,
American
all right.
censored porn too. It's called softcore, but yeah.
I didn't know.
But I think like also you got developing countries, like they had that climate change meeting, and people are like the developing countries, the third world countries are like, hey, the stuff that like with climate change, like the tornadoes, the tsunamis, the like flooding, like all these things are gonna affect us first, but we don't have the money to do it. Like what was it? What is it? Country was it? It's
Why don't we
a
just build a
smaller.
wall? Why don't we just build a wall around America?
Don't do it.
Well,
See, that's but
cut his mic. Cut his mic.
here's the thing.
Let's make doors. Just you make 4 doors.
But here's the
West,
thing:
West.
are we gonna like if sea level rises and when sea level does rise some, are we going to we're going to spend extra money to do those things, to block those cities, to help those cities out, or are we going to say like with New Orleans? How many floods are we going to do before we're like?
Hey,
I
so-
think we already knew if we would have paid attention to history that the water was going to eventually overtake the land, and because of, I mean,
But
when we study history, they say a lot of this was, that there used to be a pathway that that the land's connected. So water eventually overtook everything. I mean, eventually these land masses were going to get smaller and smaller and smaller as ice caps melted and all that. And I think the only reason this is an issue is because somewhere there's somebody hugging on a tree saying that there's no more ice in Antarctica, and that's it. That's the only reason why. Somebody's crying about it, but in reality, at one point you probably was a problem too, because you probably drove your half gas, half battery Prius to the I was just saying, like,
It's a Nissan Leaf. No, I'm
I'm just saying, unless you get on a horse, and you feed it some hay and you ride all the way there, you feel me? If you ain't living like an Amish person, I don't want to hear it,
Yeah, that's what I'm
That's
saying.
all
Unless you're willing to
You ain't living like
sacrifice
the Amish,
some
I
of
don't
your
wanna
consumption,
hear it. Huh?
I think the also like the
Nah, they run out there.
like a side note. I was watching that show, The Movies That Made Us, and Eddie Murphy wouldn't try to fly to California to shoot this scene because he was scared that it was an earthquake and California was gonna fall in the water and all this stuff. This is back in the 80s, you know. So it's crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, if you take
There's people that won't move here because they're afraid that Seattle's eventually gonna fall. Downtown Seattle's gonna fall into the water.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. No, I mean, and it's cool. You know, Big Bertha been underground doing her thing. You know, you never know what she dug up down there.
But I think I don't know. I think you can. Well, I think also like with all the climate change and like saving the environment, big companies have made it, have turned it and said, hey, you guys can do a lot to help out, but not really like looking at themselves and say, hey, we can do way more with the emissions that our factories produce, that our products that we use, that our products use to get out there, and like how much can these other people do besides Joe Schmo?
But how many times are we gonna put the blames on companies that we support?
No, that's what I'm saying. But you can,
that's the thing,
but
like,
it can be both.
Well, how can it be both? I'm saying like they're saying we want you to do more, but at the same time, if they're supplying what we demand, we're only asking them to do what we ask them, and then we cry about the results. Like, stop buying the products. Like, that's the power that society does not realize that they have. Like, when you see a company start to lose money, what happens? They either re-image or they shut down.
True.
So, everybody here, are y'all willing to live without cars? Ride bikes? You know what I'm saying? Use candles, firewood.
Where my knees are set up.
You know what I'm saying? For heat.
No, but okay. Here,
I hear what you're saying, but there has to be a sacrifice.
Yeah, that's the sacrifice.
Like if we as Americans, and that's why America is the most perfect imperfect place, because it has a great aspiration dream, but we're never on the same page. Mm-hmm. But if we could be as Americans say, you know what, we're gonna have no drive week. We're all going to just say, we're just going to stop. Yep. And we're going to clear the roads, like almost like Corona looked. Mm-hmm. But we do it intentionally, not because somebody's forcing us to do it. Then we have the power to say, you know what? Now this is what we demand that you companies do. But see, everybody's scared to sacrifice.
Who decides why? You know?
Yeah, and that's the thing. We don't use our leverage to make these changes, but then we complain about the results that we get.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where it becomes counterproductive. It's like, okay, well, a company's looking at you, well, all right, well, then if you want it to be done, then this is what you got to do.
Yeah.
Because guess what? You keep asking me to make cars, and you keep asking us to produce gas, and the price is going up, but you're still using it.
Yeah.
And so if that be the case, you do this, because I'm not finna stop doing what you asking me to do. Right. So
it's going to be a continuous process. That's why they put it out like by 2030, 2035. I mean, Tesla only makes 500,000 cars a year. You know, so that's a low number compared to how many people drive.
Yeah, but that's a low number.
That's the only way you can make the money.
Let's count the ones that we can afford.
You can't flood the market with it.
You can afford the Tesla.
But you can't flood the market with it, because then the price has to go down.
Yeah. But you can afford. People can afford Teslas now.
I mean, they're making it more affordable, but I'm just saying, like, there's other brands. Nissan makes a less expensive one.
Some of us don't want all that, because those cars come with high maintenance bills. Let's talk about oils. I mean, I'm just thinking,
True.
And that's, I was like, no, cool, yes. But can my homeboy up the street work on it when my oil needs to be changed, and when my light needs to be changed, and when all that other stuff needs to be done? Is my granddad going to be able to pop the trunk? Because if not, then I don't know if I need it.
I'm cool with a 1990 Toyota Corolla.
Because listen, me and the Sonata are cool. Like, we happy.
Give me point A to B.
It's able to be worked on regularly.
Well, 10 years. That's another thing. Like, if we gotta outsource everything that has to do with what we use to, because I remember back in the day, we used to just have to buy those little bulb things when the fuse went out, and go downstairs, take the other one off, put the other one on, and we was good.
That was it.
Like, we didn't have these super sophisticated systems in our houses and whatnot. Like,
the circuit breakers go out.
Yeah.
You gotta go and check which one.
yeah.
Oh, that's loose. Okay, pop.
Yeah, versus now, like, you have some houses, and I think it's good that they're hooked up for solar, because honestly, we should be using a lot more solar. But at the same time, it comes with a level of expertise that's not just readily available.
Right.
No.
Like,
That we haven't been trained on.
on.
I talk about this with social media. It was like people were like, "What's wrong with people on social media nowadays?" And I was like, "You think of something that just jumped up on the scene and nobody's been trained to deal with, and now you just have this monster."
Right.
Yeah.
Because nobody really knew what the purpose of it was. People just start using it.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't know it was
So
a
now we're
platform.
developing an etiquette.
Yeah.
We're learning.
Nobody,
an etiquette
nobody
that we
was
didn't
saying
have
this
to
is
have
how you
before.
use it. They was just
Yeah.
like, here it is, use it, and we'll figure out how to make it better for you.
Yeah.
And so that's what the problem became. And with most things is that the technology evolved, but they don't learn how to bring the people along with them.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of us either learn how to move with the tide or get caught up in the stampede.
Yeah.
That was a good analogy. Way to
I was
run back.
actually
I love it.
Who has money in crypto?
I actually just invested in this.
I'm
new,
looking
stuff.
into it. We were talking about it, and so I'm trying to learn a little bit more because I want
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that no losses. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
I'm a research person. I would rather read a whole bunch of stuff and watch videos and talk to different people before I just like jump because
That's
Facebook
good.
told me to jump. Facebook said move here, and I'm like no. First of all, I'm gonna call like 4 people first. And we're gonna watch 100 videos, and I'm gonna read this book, and we're gonna figure it out. But it's definitely something I've looked into because it seems to be a wave, and so sometimes I'm like, okay, let's see, do I want to catch this wave or do I want to let it pass?
So I'm a gunslinger. So I'm one of those people. Like it's either I'm going to catch the wave or I'm not going to. I'll let it pass me by. And so I don't like people. I think a lot of people spend so much time researching that it eventually does pass them by. I'm a learn from my errors type of person.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do is like when I invest in certain industry in stocks, I put a little bit in a lot of different. And so like
Diversify.
with crypto being now, there's a lot of new different crypto lines that are not very expensive, and so I'll put like $50 here, $75 here, and just watch the way that they go. And before they start to inflate, you put a little bit more money into it. And so that's where I think that's where because a lot of these people that do so well in the market, a lot of people have studied this, and then you have some people who get lucky in it, like the lottery, and they eventually get into something, or somebody's told them about something, and they get on. Like a lot of these people who got a lot of these white folks who got rich off of like the Googles and the Apples and all, and were a lot of black people were turning down these stocks a long time ago because they didn't think that they had any promise.
Right.
And so, I mean,
Well, to that
No, I
point
didn't
though,
say I wouldn't because
No,
like
no,
you,
no.
I move like it's like no, we're gonna put 50 here. Okay, I'm gonna take
Yeah.
it back. I'm gonna go ahead and put 70, and then that's So I do it that way within watching reading all of the stuff because
So-
like I said, I would rather do with wisdom. We can't just throw $1,000.
Yeah,
or something
exactly.
and then not come back.
You
You know.
don't big fish.
yeah, I agree. So I think to that point of what you just made about the Google and the Apples, the issue with the .com bubble was there was hundreds of websites and web companies that skyrocketed. So I mean, who was it? Amazon went from $3 to $100, went back down to like $5 or something like that. So you had a lot of places like Pets.com and all these other that didn't even survive. So it was only a certain amount of companies then that actually survive, and I relate that now to crypto, where you have the Bitcoins, you have the Shiba Inus, the Cardanos, all of that. We know that Bitcoin's been around the longest, right? So I will put my money on Bitcoin, and then some of the other ones I'm actually researching and looking into, but I know that there's like 12,000 cryptos now. So like some of them ain't gonna survive because I've actually had some where I put money in and they're not around no more. That money gone. so it's like, So I mean,
But
that's
it's a learning but it's learning about what's going to work in that market. So when you talk about the .coms, like Pets.com was one dimensional.
Yeah.
We seen the ones that eventually blew up were the search engines because they weren't one dimensional. They would take you anywhere.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
so that's why Google survived. Amazon became big when Jeff Bezos stopped saying, when Jeff Bezos fixed his glasses and stopped saying, "I just got books." Like when he grew in the variety of services that he gave, then Amazon became booming. And so right now Bitcoin's been there. You know, Dogecoin's coming on. You got all these people who are trying to create these cryptocurrencies, and why you want to start to dibble dabble a little bit is because what we're going to eventually see is that's going to be the way that people buy, sell, and trade.
Yeah.
Cash is going to become irrelevant, and that system of money monetizing is going to become irrelevant. And what type of cryptocurrency? Because everything's going virtual.
But is it a way for us, specifically Black folks, to start to develop more wealth for our families, or is it a way for us to like break out of the cycle of paycheck to paycheck? Or is it?
I think
reparations should be that they get. Well, this is real. I think that they shouldn't necessarily just give you a check, but they should give you and say, we'll give you this much of value and you invest it. And from that, because if you think about it, most of the people who have the power that's how they got it. It's how they invested their money. And so if we were given that opportunity to say, here's this, now you be smart with it and invest and see what people do with it. Yeah, some people may invest and not like something and pull out and just say, I'm gonna take that and run with it. But there's you'll see a shift in people who are going to look at it as free money. I'm just gonna invest and see what happens with it. Because everybody that I know, like, and most of them are white folks, but they had some money when they became adults, they were gifted stocks by their parents, and they just sat on it. They didn't even know what it was. They just sat on it, and then eventually it turned into something, and they could say, "Oh, I know a rich dude right now who's in the 70s. He was adopted, was given some stocks and Google stocks, Microsoft stocks, original stocks, and he hasn't never made money in his life." All the businesses, everything he started was from that seed that was planted from his parents that just gifted him stocks.
So my pushback on that, I got to push back on that.
That's cool.
So first thing you said, be smart and invest. So to get smart, you have to educate yourself first. There's YouTube and information. This age of information has just made it accessible for everybody, especially in our country, to educate themselves. Like for me, like I went from $0 during COVID to close to 6 figures. You know what I'm saying? Just by working hard, putting in side hustles, and paying myself first. So all these different principles that I'm learning from, white folks, you know what I'm saying? I'm reading their books and stuff, and I'm applying those principles, and I'm able to get there. So I think that crypto can be a way for people to profit and change the way. But if you don't change the way that you think about money or educate yourself on how money works, you're going to have the same issue. You're going to see Shiba Inu blow up. You're going to take the money out, spend it on something that doesn't have value, that doesn't hold value, and then you're going to be back in the same position again.
But it's all about what you're taught, and so that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like, we see white kids build credit. We see all them. Why? Because when they're 15, 16, their parents have already given them credit cards in their name. Every time they make a purchase, either legitimate or illegitimate, somebody's coming behind them, cleaning up their mess and building that up for them. They're giving them stocks that they did not work for, do anything with them. And this is how they're getting their hands up in society. When you're going from paycheck to paycheck and you're worried how you're going to make rent and feed your kids, that $10 that you could probably invest on public or whatever, and you're not going to do that because every single dollar matters. Exactly. And so that's where there's the and not to, but sometimes I hate the whole token black person situation, because we say, you know what, I was able to do it, and then what white folks do is they prop that up and say, look at him. And everybody doesn't have that situation.
I agree.
Most people are fighting to just get a little bit.
So we're a consumer nation, right? So this is my pushback to that. We will eat out. That $10 eating McDonald's could have went into a stock. Those $100 buying Jordans could have went into a stock. You could have went to Goodwill and bought some shoes but we so caught up into impressing other people and we care about impressing people that we don't like. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's not the point of it.
But like what I'm saying is
feel equal in society.
But what I'm saying is that there's a cause behind it, but I think that if we actually invested money, because we spend money on Netflix subscription. Okay, $10 a month. That $10 could have went into uranium stock. I saw uranium stocks go from $10 to $11. Could have multiplied it, doubled it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there is some underlying habits that we have because of certain reasons, right? Mm-hmm. Historical reasons and all of that. And so we have to break that mentality and educate ourselves so that we can actually do it. Like for me, I don't make a whole lot of money, but I pay myself 10% off top. I put 10% in my Roth IRA before I pay anybody else. We're so used to paying everybody else first before we even pay ourselves, and we leave ourselves to scraps.
Because they made you feel like that's the way to survive. So what you're talking about, what you've conditioned your mind to do, but I'm talking about the conditioned mind state of the masses they've always been fighting from behind. And so you may say that $7.99 going into for Netflix but they may pay that $7.99 because that's their escape from real world, because real world is the crushing reality of real world is detrimental. Like that's the thing. Like we're not talking about that. We're just saying get up off your ass and do it. But getting up off your ass and doing it may not be that easy for some people who are just fighting for survival. Mm-hmm. And so you have a few people in there that, because even in the white community, you have a few people who have that psyche. But what happens is, even though they have that psyche, they know that there's other people who don't have it, and what they do is they prepare a lifestyle so that those people can be on a same or similar platform. We don't do that. What we do is say, I did it, nigga, do it too. Instead of saying, you know what, I did it, how can I create an equal playing field for everybody behind me?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, though, like with creating an equal playing field, it's like we're putting our trust in the government to create that playing field for us.
Well, but
I have
they
more
created the unequal playing field.
Yeah, exactly. But is government doing anything?
But I don't.
They're not doing anything.
But I don't think it has to be even. It doesn't even have to do with the government. Like there's some stuff that are social norms. Like you said, like with the escape, with the Netflix. Like there's certain things. Like I'll go to the movies. I get my popcorn. I got my popcorn bucket and I pay for my subscription to go to the movies whenever I want to. But I also know that I can invest that money. But at the same time, I work like 80, 90, 100 hours. That's one break. That's one point. Yeah, that's one thing. It's a break. Yeah. It's one thing. I'm like, I want to spend my money in one part, and somebody might be like, yo, that pair of shoes that I got once a year, and you're right. Sometimes we do stuff to look like we're rich, to look like we're such and such. But also, there's some people who will get some of those things because as when they were younger, they couldn't afford them. So they're like, hey, when I get older,
but I'll take that even deeper,
from
because what
degradation
people don't understand
and all
is
that.
at the beginning of our society, there was a group of people who had the resources to everything. To look spectacular, to everything that they did looked magnificent. And then you had a society of people over here who were struggling and were told to say, you should be fine with scraps. And for them, they said, you know what? I want to feel equal. And so what we started to do, we started to buy nice cars and buy nice clothes so that we could feel equal, even though we still had less. And so that is part of what that uneven playing field that was created. So we fight just to be accepted in society. Because guess what? Where I work at right now, a white dude can come in jeans and a regular t-shirt and some busted sneakers and be accepted. If I ever thought about stepping in there like that, they'd probably call security and say, get this homeless man out of here.
So a couple things with that. So one thing, there's a proverb in the Bible that says those who pretend to be rich are actually poor. Those who pretend to be poor are actually rich. I drive a beater car outside. I don't need a brand new Tesla or anything like that where I'm making a car payment. You know what I'm saying?
We're talking about mental conditions. We're not talking about and that's what I'm saying. We're talking about a mental condition. We're not talking about some people subconsciously do things. Some people are. He talked about some people buying things because they did not have when they were growing up.
Yeah,
that's a subconscious thing that goes back until that part of when there was that unequal playing field, and that person was saying, "Guess what? Because even then, that's where police brutality also came from, because men were getting pulled over and saying, why you got this nice car? Why you wearing this nice suit?" And then we get the brakes beat off of them if they made it home.
Yeah, so I agree with that.
I'm saying there's all these things that go into it.
There's layers to it. So,
yeah, and it's a one-off when you do use that, because by the masses, most people are living by this.
So what's the solution for the masses? That's the question.
I say you put them in stock.
What were you saying there, Amber?
Teaching. So one of the solutions now is teaching. So as we get information, we have to make sure we teach our children information. As we learn, because our children are watching us grow. So now we have to teach them that, yes, buy the shoes this check because you deserve a break, but the next check you need to go ahead and save, because we need to do both. We have to find the happy medium. We can't go splurge every time. I deserve a break every time. You also deserve savings. You also deserve stocks, whether it be in crypto or whether it be in something else. You also deserve to have these things. And so within all of that, yes, take the $20, save it, and then put $20 over here too. So you can, here's your splurge money, here's your save money. It's about us now becoming wise. Now that we're having these conversations, and we in this room and our listeners and everybody else now know this stuff, how do we now teach the further generations so they don't have to be stuck here? That's now the solution, because in our lifetime, the masses might not catch it. They're trying because the information is now available, as we know. It's going to be the generations behind us now, because we now have to get to a point where it's like, okay, I can't worry about the masses. We now have to worry about the kids, because at this point, the information is here. Yep. And if you, when your 35-year-old self, don't decide to get on YouTube and find out the crypto stuff like I've chosen to do, or like some of y'all have chosen to do, all I can do now is teach her. I can't teach the masses. And I think that might be selfish to an extent, but you teach those who listen, because, again, as we brought up, the Bible talks about not throwing your pearls among swine. So you, of course, each one, you get some information, you teach one. You know some stuff, you're going to tell me some stuff. You know some stuff, you're going to tell me some stuff. I'm going to go home, I'm going to now Google your stuff, and I'm going to get smarter. And now it's up to me to talk to my kid. And I have a little green card for Avery, and it does let us invest in stocks for her and other different things. But this is how I've taught her now to, A, use your debit card, because that's the way society is going. B, this is how you balance your 11. This is how you balance your register. This is now how you work for money. This is their extra chores. This is that. Because she now needs to learn that, like you said, we're going to invest this much. You're going to save this much. And then this is now your play stuff. This is now what you get to do.
But also
so it's a teaching thing.
But I also think that it's one-offs, because not everybody was a Rothschild. Not everybody was and so what I'm saying is that there are people who have the abilities to do that and create those systems within their families, within their sphere of influence, or whatever that be. But at the same time, there was an essence of the people of the masses who, there was a point in our country that you can just go and be a hard-working American and live a good life.
Yeah.
Right.
Not have to worry about bone-crushing debt. Right. Not have to worry about how your kids gonna go to college and all that. You were able to do all those things, but see, the price of living went up, and the price of labor didn't.
Correct.
And so, with that being the cost, everybody's pushing this. You gotta be rich now.
Right.
And so that's where there's this convolution of people, because everybody don't have the ability to tap into that.
Yeah.
So with that be the case, that's what I'm saying. Even in our counterparts community, they know that. And because they don't know that, they set it up for the people who do not have that ability to at least have a fighting chance. We don't. But that's because the playing field was uneven. So as I started, I believe that would be the way to fix the playing field, is that you don't just hand somebody a check and say, do what you please, is it? But you hand them something that they have to use as something that for a tool that can improve their lives. Now the outcome of that is up to them. Maybe you educate yourself, you learn about stocks, or whatever that be. But there has to be something that we use to equal the playing field and give these people who don't have the ability to maneuver like that, the ability to at least get the opportunity.
So how would you explain, home ownership in the Black community, it's a little bit less than it was in the 80s. So we own, I think of
because we owned our own, a lot of our own land we built on that.
Yeah. So my grandma owned a home, so you, like how you mentioned earlier, the prices of inflation have continuously went up. So if you look at charts where you see corporate earnings, like this is where the big wigs get their money, but wages have stayed relatively flat since the 80s when the dollar went off the gold standard. So like we're not earning more money, and then we're also seeing the prices of homes and living go up.
Yeah,
you know,
the price of living skyrockets. The price of labor has not.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
And that's where we're at. And you hear it on the front. They're talking about, oh, well, we need jobs starting at. No, we need jobs starting at higher than that. If that's the case, the way y'all have living at, them prices of labor need to raise up. You know, or the prices of living need to go down.
Yeah, exactly.
And so one of those, somewhere it has to give. You know, but at one point in this country, it was people were able to have a piece of their own part of this country, their own. Even if it be a little square, it was people were able to have that and maintain and have a good life. But what happened was other people got greedy. We see it in the Central District right now. That was one of the first black places in Seattle where black people. Now it ain't. Yeah. And it's because somebody said, you know what? Oh, what? You can get to downtown in 5 minutes, buses, everything? I don't need a car. Okay, well, we need to start building up there. And so let's
devalue what's over there.
Yeah.
And then when we push them away, we'll come in, we'll do more too. We'll do more to the area.
Of course.
Now it's 3 times worth as much, and you can't come back in here.
And what they do is they say, you know what? We got an idea. We want to make this neighborhood safer for you guys.
Well, we kick you out first.
Right.
We kick you out.
Well, with that, like, you know, because I invest, I buy gold and stuff too. And like I look at gold, the price of gold back in the early 1900s was $20, and $1 was worth 1/20th of gold. So $20 could have got you an ounce of gold. So if you put $20 under your mattress versus an ounce of gold for hundreds of years, left it for whoever, that person would have put out the ounce of gold that would have been worth over $1,800. That $20 would have still been worth $20.
I hear that.
And you wouldn't be able to buy as much with it because they printed so much money. Like we look at what has value. The Mona Lisa has value because there's not many of it. Yeah. Certain Jordans have value because there's not very many of it. It's scarce. Bitcoin is scarce. That's why it has value. Gold is scarce. It has value. So with the dollar, we've created so much dollars. If you look at the M2 money supply chart since COVID, it just went straight up. We created so much money that the dollar loses so much value that we have a hard time being able to buy these things when you could go $20, you know, back in or like I think in the 50s, you could buy a home for about $5,000-$6,000.
Yeah.
You know?
But I think also like with like investing in crypto, I think a lot of times you have things that the normal person, like we have to do so much extra to get into them. Like we had at the first
was a thing.
At the first, all those things.
I remember my son was born. My great uncle called me, and he was like, "You better be careful what you name that kid." And I was like, "Why?" And he said, "Because one day that boy is gonna have to fill out a loan application, and he's automatically gonna be denied based on what you name him."
Oh, and, I agree.
And there's so many things that
we shouldn't live in a country where that should be an issue.
True. And there's a lot of stuff that people that we have that if the normal person was able to, like, okay, take for instance what happened with
I got a white man. I got good.
Me too. Me too.
What's the investment platform?
Coinbase?
No, Robinhood. Is it Robinhood?
Robinhood.
Robinhood. Yeah, Robinhood was set up to help the normal person. Robinhood was set up to help the normal person invest.
Yep.
But when it came to when the game came, and people were like, "Yo, get up on there right now and get some
Rocket Mortgage.
Get some of that GameStop. Get some of that Bed Bath and Beyond. Get all of those ones." The big dudes was like, "Hold up, they are not supposed to be doing all this." And then Robinhood shut that down, and everybody shut that down, to where it's like, okay, like some of these things, and there was some other stuff going on with that.
A lot of people lost money in that too, though.
The blow up of cryptocurrency, the same thing happened. So because what nobody ever talks about was Bitcoin was black market currency.
Right.
So people were buying, selling, trading drugs. There was a lot of stuff going on black market that was going on with Bitcoin. They cleaned up the image, but there was a lot of people when Bitcoin started booming that lost a lot of money because they were like, you know what? These people shouldn't be having this. You know, frees up a lot of accounts. A lot of people lost a lot of money,
and it's always something with investing and whatnot it's a risky thing, and it's like people.
But it comes down to education. Like people was getting on Wall Street Bets, the Reddit, looking at what people were buying. They didn't do any research on the company. They didn't even know what a short squeeze was. True. Bought GameStop at $300. Well, just because the word is like, oh, it's gonna go up higher. It's gonna go up higher, and then never recoup that money back. And it's like that's gambling. That's not investing.
True, right. But at the same time, there was a lot of the shutdown happened.
Most people look at investing as gambling anyway. Because I mean, if I go to Mukilteo right now and I put $100 in the slot machine, I pull that thing and I might lose $100 in that machine, but I could hit big as well. And so people look at the market the same way. I'm gonna put my market in this machine and my money in this machine called the stock market, and you know what? I might hit or I might not.
You know why they view it as gambling though? Is because they haven't educated themselves. Like when I look at companies, I'm reading their balance sheets, I'm reading their income statements, their cash flow statements. What kind of products are they producing? Okay, how much money do they make this time? Okay, are they a profitable business? Are they going to go bankrupt like Hertz did in 2020? You know what I'm saying? So I look at all that stuff. You know what I'm saying?
But if you if you look at that, there's a lot of people who have 401ks during who aren't gambling, who aren't trying to bet on something or the other. They wanted something that was concrete. Who lost a ton of money in the 2008 crash? Who lost more money when 2020 happened? They weren't betting. There's a lot of people who weren't betting on those things and now can't.
That was called the ERISA law. They implemented that because average retail investors, like we would be considered retail investors, we weren't in the stock market. And I think Nixon actually implemented the ERISA law, which is like the retirement plan where they wanted our money in the markets automatically. And that's when they came up with 401ks and IRAs and all these different things. And so now we put money into like these funds and we don't even know like, you know, what companies are in these funds. Yeah. Like these funds, they have underlying companies in them. And then you have each individual company's performance or balance sheets and how much they earn and all this stuff. It's just a lot of layers to
pensions
it.
Are hard to pensions are hard to fund when the company is when you're a 30-year man and you go out of that company and then that company goes bankrupt at year 32.
But let's be real. Who got time to do this? Like every few you got a person who got time. And I don't work 10, 12 hours a day. Or what is that? I wake up early in the morning. I got shit, shower, shave. I get ready for the work day. 10, 12 hours. I come home. I'm trying to wind down a little bit, eat, you know, whatever. Prepare for the next day. I got that hustle and grind. Man, some people got 1, 2, 3 jobs. And so when you doing all this multiple thing, there's people who say, well, you know, there's somewhere in that block a day where you can do that. And there's somebody who's saying, you know what? Forget what you're talking about because I'm trying to rest in that block of the day.
Let me ask you.
Guess what?
Let me ask you a question. So, if a slave had a way to freedom that required extra hours to get to freedom, you know, would that slave take that extra hours to get there?
And this is my answer to you. What happened is that there was somebody who said, you know what, I'm about to figure out how to free all these slaves. Yeah. And so they dedicated their time to that. And when they figured it out, they said, guess what? Everybody, I got the answer. Come on. So that's what we're missing in the black community, because that's what the white community has. That's what the Asian community has. That's what the Mexican community has. That's what the Indian community has. That's what the African community has. They got people who do their taxes. They got people who invest their money. They got people who do all these things. See, what we do is we say, you know what? Well, we don't have the education. What I'm going to do is I'm going to educate myself. and then I'm gonna turn around and tell everybody else, since I educated myself, you just need to educate yourself. But everybody else don't have the ability
because sometimes people don't come because a lot of us have. I'm not gonna say saviors, but some of us have people like that who have put in the time, and we don't follow. And so here's the thing. I don't.
There's not enough of them, and that's the thing. I think there's not enough of them because this is why I'm saying it's not enough of them that are promoting it, and that's the thing. Because if there's enough of them promoting it, I may not come to you, but there's somebody else that I might go to.
Right.
See, I might not feel you.
Right.
See the way you approach it, I might not understand that. I might not get. I talk about this with my salvation. You know, I went to this church and it was Pastor Townsend. He run a Church of God and Glory on Martin Luther King and Graham. You know, it was the first church I kind of went to when I was thinking about getting saved, and I go in there and people falling out on the ground and all that, and I'm like, you know what? This ain't my style of church.
But the message doesn't change.
I hear you. But then I went to another church. The message didn't change, but the approach did, and that's where I eventually end up that's where my tool is. That's where I end up learning,
right?
Because I bought in there. The message didn't change, but the approach was different. So the thing is we got people saying, well, you know, they just don't. We got people Kevin Samuel in the game, and everybody's like, hey, well, you know what? I'm not with that approach. If somebody else had a different approach, they may listen to them, and so that's where we have the problem at. We got one person that do it, or we got 10 people that do it.
You also have to do your due diligence to find those people, because like I'm on the YouTube community. I have my own podcast I do called The Money Level Show, if I can put that out there, that talks about finances and all these different things. I've in my research, I found other black people, Earn Your Leisure, and many others that actually does educate them. I just think it boils down to either people wanting to do their own due diligence.
White folks got they got their infomercials, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. They got all, you know what I'm saying? They promote them. So this is the difference, because it takes money to make money, right? Mm-hmm. So what we do as black people is we get stingy with the money when it comes to promoting us. So the thing is that Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he put a lot of money into production and making sure that people knew exactly what he was selling. So guess what? They came out. Yeah, you may have 200 people and 10 people may only grasp what you're getting, but that's the way it goes. What we do is say, guess what? You gotta find me on YouTube, or maybe you get my card from one of your from Junebug at the barbecue. Like, no, that's not how it is. Put money back into your business so that we know what it is. Because if anything, all you looking at me as a consumer to profit off of me. What else are you doing to make sure that that's a sustainable business? Yeah. Because if I'm just giving you the money, when you disappear, where else am I supposed to go?
You can buy
so that's what's happening.
Well, like with Earn Your Leisure, I think they are a great resource for people who want to get into stocks, who want financial tech, and all that stuff. But at the same time, I look at it as like, if you were never on social media, you wouldn't even know who they were. If you were never on YouTube, you wouldn't know who they were. And they're on episode like 200.
Right.
It's going to be hard for me to go back and look at and listen to the information the game they're kicking at episode 1, because I'm gonna be like, some of this information is old and they're not doing like enough to, because they could be their platform could be so much bigger to help way more people. But I feel like their goal and their game, and it's not really a game, but their goal is to reach a certain people, and it's like there's a lot more people that could be helped by that, but aren't, because of where the message is, of where they would have to get the other information. Because like you said, it's super daunting. It's a daunting task, and you're like, okay, should I put my
I think it boils down to this. We all want that lottery ticket, right? We'll go play the lotto. We'll go to the slot machine to get that big win that don't take no due diligence or no effort to really even profit off of it. Same thing with these cryptos. Like, go invest in Shiba Inu, go invest in Dogecoin, go invest in GameStop. We all want that big thing, but we don't want to do the work to actuly, research and go back and watch those 200 episodes.
Playing from behind. Okay. Guess what? If it's fourth down, no time left on the clock, and you got to score a touchdown, what you going to do? You ain't going to just say, you know what? Guess what, guys? We just need to chip away and work hard. We got 30 seconds. We'll get there. Right. No. It's like, guess what? Everybody run to the end zone. I'm finna just launch that thing. Somebody, either you going to catch it or you're not. That's just what you got.
The Hail Mary off Madden.
We're at the Hail Mary. Because, see, we're looking at our counterparts, and while they had all the resources, and they had the land and the houses and the cars and all that, they were able to run businesses without anything. Like they dominated this land that we live on. When we seen that, if you got black people that's like, hey, I want to live like that, but I only got a little bit. So you're playing more of the risk and reward game than the long game. But, and so, you got people. I mean, how many people do we got in prison from the drug game? Because that was a risk and reward. It was like, guess what? Yeah, I can go out here and get a job and work at McDonald's and eventually become a manager and maybe I can do that, or I can go sit out on this corner for a couple hours and make some money and try to get there faster, because that's what we were forced to have to do. Like, figure out a way to get to the same place as our counterpart, but we got to cut some corners to get there, because we can't get there at the same time that you get there.
But so back to the original point, I agree. So let's get that out the way. I'm not disagreeing. No. Yes, there is a great disadvantage. But back to the original point, can crypto help us, at least, even if it doesn't make the playing field even, can it give us that quicker jump start that you're saying that we need? And I honestly believe that
Nike could have.
Huh?
I mean, that's
not just crypto, but any stock. I mean, and that's kind of just where I'm at. It's like, no, if you can get the information to now teach the information, it can give you and your family that start, and then you do reach back. Each one get one. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that does require now you receiving and me giving. You know what I'm saying? But
it can give your family a start. You can start an Uber account.
A life insurance policy can give your family a start if you use it right.
You can start an Uber account right now, and that can change your family's life.
Right, and that's the thing. We're not, and so
it starts with your foundation. Though it starts with your foundation. Like if you give, say, if you take a rich man and a poor man, you take the money away from the rich man and you give both of them $1 million. Who is going to succeed?
The rich man.
Because he's educated. He has a foundation for it.
Okay, so now we're talking about the society of America and the people who've had the resources and then everybody who's playing from behind. So that's where your analogy does come into play, but it was already set up for that to be the situation. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you got people who are taking a lot more risk with what they have because they're trying to get to a certain place, and that's the problem. So back to the original question, the only way that anything can actually is if we're gifted that. Like, we have to be gifted that. Because a lot of the people who have these resources have been playing in this game longer before we knew what this game was.
Right. But remember last week, I don't know if all the listeners listened last week. So if you remember last week when we were talking about the athletes and how we were saying, well, are they supposed to be stand-up and can they be? And one of the things was said was possibly not, because we're giving these young boys who don't know nothing, who came from nothing, a great sum of money and then expecting them to be responsible. So with what you're saying, said, though I do believe there needs to be some kind of compensation, we need to figure out what that's going to look like. We also can't just give, here's however much, go
That's why I'm saying there's
because like I said, if you don't know, you don't know.
But that's why I say stocks, because then
but
in
if
that
you don't
situation,
know stocks, and if, like you said, we have this disadvantage, and I haven't been able to watch videos because I want to rest, and now I can't do. How are you supposed to give me something to invest if I don't know how to invest?
Now, in a sense, that's the thing. I think that's what changes, because if you're given something and you're saying the only way that it can be operated is if you put it in there, I'm pretty sure now more people are going to figure out how to use it.
I disagree.
Because
I disagree with that because people are lazy and people have been conditioned to work.
But see, I think that if you live to that, then you deal with the consequences of that. Mm-hmm. You're right about that. But at the same time, you have to deal with the consequences of that. If you're giving it, like we said, if you're given the talents and you bury them, well, then you can't be mad at the results of that. Right. Now, if it's given to you and you figure out how to put it to work, then that's where you benefit. But the thing is that it hasn't been afforded, it hasn't been given, and we don't know what the results were going to be because it hasn't. We don't even have the field to even practice that theory, because nobody has ever attempted to make the playing field even. Attempted.
Right. But
nobody's attempted.
I lost my pen. So I I tried to pin the thought. I lost the pin. Yes, you're right.
Just thinking to respond. That's all.
No. I'd be listening to y'all. That's why I sit quietly most of the time. So I do agree. No one has attempted this, and so we don't know what the response is going to be. But if you study sociology and if you study the behavior of people, and with all of the stuff that we've even said today, and even just listening within the dialogue today, there's going to be half of us who go find the YouTube videos, half of us who now feel overwhelmed and aren't going to. We might talk to our smart friend. We might not talk to our smart friend. We might listen to podcasts. We might not. And there's going to be another portion of us who do nothing with it and lose out on it. Yeah. And so, though I hear what you're saying, well, if you lose out, you lose out. True.
But it's still
but
even the playing field, because you want me to tell you something? Not just because they're afforded the opportunity makes they're successful with it. They end up drug addicts. They end up in rehab. They end up losing money. They end up cut off from their family. And so what I'm saying is,
not a catch-all.
But what I'm saying is regardless of the fact, is that they lack education too in some of these areas. I'm just saying the opportunity to play fair, the opportunity for a level playing field,
I agree,
is the difference. What you do with your opportunity is what you do with it. If somebody told you, guess what? I'll give you free school for 4 years. You can go to school and get a degree, or you can sit on your couch and not advance your life. That's your choice.
Right.
But what we're crying for is the opportunity.
The opportunity,
and that's it.
Like
I think the opportunity. Go ahead. Go ahead. Tana, and I'm overwhelmed, lazy, and I don't understand, and I need a smart friend.
You a smart friend? I know.
We chop it up, sis. We chop it up. I'll chop it up with you.
But I think,
listen, I'll take it.
And I'm conditioned to work, and I work.
A lot of us,
but I know, and I think that's a part too, because for me, like, I'll get another job and work. I work 80, 90 hours, but I also
that's what my family used to call me.
And that's the thing, like, because that's what I saw. I saw my dad get up and not I didn't even live in the same house, but I saw him work 40 years at GM and then retire after that. I saw my mom work. She just retired. I saw her leave the house every day and go to her state job. And then I saw people who were like that, who worked and were like, okay, cool, I have a pension afterwards. But it's like
they're fine.
And they're fine.
And they're fine. You didn't have to do anything extra. And they weren't investing. They weren't doing all this.
And it's possible. No, my dad is doing it. He's living, going to retire.
Most of us don't get those level of jobs. Let's be real.
Right. Yeah, so they don't exist so much anymore.
But now we have a lot of people who are in those positions that they're in, that they retired, and they're looking, they're like, because of how it is out here, I not only have to go back to doing a little bit of work, then I gotta learn somehow. I gotta learn how to get a little bit of investing to be on to do something like
to now
you used to just live on fixed income. I'm on a fixed income.
So let's look at it like
price of living went up, so how we can't do it no more. Yeah. But no, and so I understand that the playing field is to be even. I think stocks can help. I think that now that we're having these conversations, they can help. And though, no, I agree. So the playing field's uneven. We need to figure it out.
I don't think
the gift would be cool, and then those of us who have the information it can do. But at the same time, I think it, like back to the original point, I think it can, at least now, for those of us who want the information, it can get it. Mm-hmm. It'll give us the push to go.
I think it's like credit. Our parents didn't know enough about credit. Their parents really didn't have to deal with enough about credit. But now we can be that change to where if we have kids in our house, like your daughter. Mm-hmm. You're going to say, hey, you don't have to leave the house at 18, but you do have to maintain.
Go to school, get a job.
Go to school, get a job.
But also, you're going to now be more mindful and say, I need to make sure that she's not being dumb with her money.
Right.
She's not investing, but she's making good credit choices. Mm-hmm. That her credit is building, and she knows about credit. Our parents didn't have to think about that enough. They didn't think about that because a lot of us, some people, had stuff in their names before they were 12 years old.
I want to say that's trash parenting. For those of y'all who need to hear it, that is trash parenting, by the way.
And collections right now is still paying it off.
I worked in property management. I had a few residents who would put their teenager on the lease, but they knew that they were responsible. So when they moved out, their child then had rental history.
And that's
Yeah,
cool.
but
And if that's the motive, I'm for it. Right. If that's the motive, then let's go. But
I mean,
how many of that is? But how many? But how many is that the case?
Time out. What kind of property was it?
What do you mean?
Was it a housing property?
No, it was an apartment complex. I said rental.
Oh, but it was an apartment complex. But the people that stayed there, were they like Section 8 type people?
Definitely not.
Okay, I was just making sure because a lot of times that's what they do too.
So how I see this? How I see this is like.
I'm just making sure.
Hey, so this is how I see it.
Sometimes we keep each other in the
I see that our ancestors, previous generations, they didn't have access to this information. Right. They didn't have access to stockbrokers. You just had to call a broker on the phone, all that stuff. How many black people got smartphones? We can download the Robinhood app. We can go on to YouTube and learn it. So I think that I wouldn't say the playing field is level, but I think that we have more opportunity to be able to get into this.
Easier to distract.
Yeah, exactly.
So Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, anything that can get you focused on how to stay a consumer, then profit off of the market.
Exactly.
And we are, if not, the biggest fools of that market.
Right.
Yeah. And so they focus on that.
That one hurt.
I know. That one hurt. They focus on that. And I like my Jordans. You feel me? And I like my.
I can't even lie.
But still, we are the biggest fools of that trick.
Yep.
Because like you said, somebody like a Bill Gates or somebody like that walk in right now and he got some little slip-on Vans and some $10 Dockers and a $15 polo shirt and he worth billions of dollars. And a black dude could come in walking and $150 shoes, and $60 jeans, and a $40 shirt, and already and $0 in his pocket. Like and so that's the thing. Like
that's the degradation that we've experienced, and that and that we're trying to
to be
overcome,
accepted. To be accepted as equals in this country. Because we feel like that's if you look at me and you accept my image, then I'm already somewhat there because our image was the most thing that was attacked.
Which is funny because we're portraying this image for us, not a lot of the time, not for our counterparts.
Well, because our image has always been attacked.
Right,
so
and I hear that.
White people say we're pure and we're good, and you're dirty and you're nasty because you're black.
Right, but if you're the one with the money, shouldn't I be trying to look like you, act like you, at least maneuver in your systems? And I had a friend who said that I don't have to like your systems or agree with your systems, but if I learn your systems and now I'm able to maneuver in your arenas, now the playing field is more even. Or now I can at least get enough for you to take back. So we're buying all of this stuff to look good to each other, and then we're not getting anything from our counterparts, and then we're
if you think about what are looking like we had stuff comes from,
right,
and how it didn't really change. It morphed into something else because what it was we would dress up to look good in public. So for one, we weren't taken away and attacked because or stolen because they would think that we were thinking of slave or after. They would think that we didn't have people who cared about us, so they could be taken. We didn't have people who cared, who loved us, or we weren't a part of a family. So their clothes are bummy. We can take them.
Right.
We can do something. So it was like, oh, these people. There's people who care about them now, and then it morphed into you're in these spaces. Your hair should look different. Your clothes should look different. You cannot relax. And then when now it's gotten to the point of how we look and how we dress is a style for people to copy and to use and as an image to sell.
And this is where
we talk little teenage girls. We tell them all the time about how their image is broken up. But that's the same exact thing that was done to the black community.
Right.
Every aspect of the way you looked was critiqued and degraded and beat down to where now there's hundreds of years of trauma of just trying to look like you are in that group of the accepted.
Right.
So it's not necessarily just for us. I mean, yeah, we it's a status amongst each other because we have made each other.
Because we just said that the rich white guy were less than, and it's us who's
we were traumatized by that.
Right.
And so when we were able, if us as an individual were able to break that, just to break that society norm, of course, it did put us on a bigger, higher playing level than our personal counterparts. And so, yeah, we were able to turn around and say, guess what? I look like them, but you don't. Mm-hmm. And so that became more of a traumatizing thing for a Black American, was to not only be competing with your white counterpart, but the person that was next to you, because just to get the resources to be able to get that was a fight.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing that none of us actually look at. When we attack all this stuff, we don't even think about the psyche of the people that we've created.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
You know, we've been conditioned to live like that.
But that's why, and I always teach the importance of knowing the medium. And like I said, knowing that it's okay to save and spend. It's okay to, because you can't hold all of it. It's okay to now find the medium, because you do need to look good so we can be going into places and so we can keep up and so we can get, our jobs and whatever. But it's also still important to where, like I said, now you do all save and everything else, that you have to now learn. There's 100 years worth of trauma, and this is how, and this is where it came from. So now where's the medium where we compare the two and be successful?
Spend 99, save half.
Right. I think what did someone
tell
me? I think I was told 70. I think an adult, when I was younger, I had an adult tell me, she said it was 70-30, where you spend 70 and you save 30, whether however you decide to divide it up. It was up.
For me personally, it's all like psychological. I just,
it is very psychological.
Yeah, and I kind of, that's how I like operate, especially in like, spaces with more white people and stuff. Like, I know how to put on the image. You know what I'm saying? And I'll do that to get to where I want to be, because it's like at the end of the day, you may think that, oh yeah, this nigga need an opportunity, whatever. You may think that. At the end of the day, I'm building this financial freedom for my family, which is the ultimate goal, and not caring about, what they think. And so I think psychological in that way.
And I think it's psychological. And I think psychological, like at my job, we just hired this new Black lady as a director, and I know why they hired her. I'm not stupid.
It's the token.
But when I seen her, I let her know. I was like, before I even seen you here, I have mission. You feel me? And my mission ain't Marvin related. My mission is for everybody who comes behind me.
Right.
Because see, the thing is that I could be so focused on Marvin getting ahead, but in reality, if that's all I'm focused on, eventually that goal ends. But if I'm looking to reshape the ideology of what it looks like to just be a Black man in corporate America, I want people to realize that we're more of an asset here than a liability.
Yeah.
And so, and not only that, I want Black people to come here and see that we don't have to fall into this norm of not caring about the job as long as we getting a check. That, if you shoveling shit at the zoo, you better be the best shit shoveler that was at the zoo. We have to fall into that mindset, But what we do is that we clown the person that work hard at the job. Yeah. Oh, you doing this for the man? No, I ain't doing this for the man. I'm doing this for myself.
Yeah, exactly.
But not only for myself, I'm doing this so that they don't look at all of us like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So that the next person that Black with dreads that look like me, they don't say, oh, he's just some hood dude that come from the street. But remember, they say, you know what, we had a dude, Marvin, he looked just like that. We can give this dude a chance. Because
they were twins.
What's funny is they do that too. They do that, and I play along with it, but it's annoying. But they do that. Every Black dude that come in with dress, that's your son, or that's your cousin, and then we gotta walk around. And now we both walking around like, hey, what's up? You feel me? Oh yeah,
we're brothers.
We're brothers. We happy and we're singing and we're color. High five. Like, come on, man. They do that, but no. I think that us as American, what America has done is they've poisoned our mind to individualize everything, and not realizing that this thing is bigger than any individual. And if that's the case, then you should be looking at how to set up the world for the people who come behind you. And none of us do that. We look like, well, how am I going to? And if we do, it's like, well, how is my family going to? But it's bigger than that. Because even if your family's the only one, then eventually everybody around your family going to be looking at them as targets. So how do we create this world, this environment that everybody can coexist? Even if you have a little bit more than me, then I'm fine. Because I'm good. The thing is that it's not that way because you have more and I'm struggling and I'm hungry. And so what I'm looking at is how can I take from you? Because that's the fastest way to get.
Yep.
And that's not an environment that we should be establishing.
You know, and that also, like, it doesn't resolve the issue. You know, because how I look at stuff is like even on my channel, like I've interviewed like Jim Rogers. He's 300 million net worth. Like, I'm more interested in the game that he can give, you know, than anything else. Like, and so when I bring him on, I'm trying to get his game to, you know, just average people. That's what my channel's for, is just like average people out there. And so, like, that's kind of what I look at. I look at, like, okay, teach a man to fish rather than giving me the fish. Because if you just give me the fish and I don't know how to fish, then that fish gonna run out and then I'm starving again. And I'm in the same situation again.
But back to the psyche of man. Yeah. A lot of people don't think like that.
And some people are scared. You know how scared I was to apply for a loan? Or apply for a credit card? Or any of that? Like, it wasn't until I did it where the fear.
You were talking about that.
But I had the fear of that.
Yeah.
You know, and people talked about it. You do it, and if you got declined, the negative result that it had, like, and so some people, you know what, I'm not even finna play in that arena. I'm cool, yada, yada, yada. And they would rather live in the fear.
I just deal with cash.
Exactly.
Yep. But again, going back to our parents, because when it was talked about in our homes, it was, don't get a credit card, don't get a credit card, it's going to mess up your credit. Rather than now having the responsibility, rather than now teaching your children, I effed up because I'm irresponsible. Yep. Let me go ahead and pay this and now rectify it. But no, we beaten to our 18-year-olds, don't get a credit card, don't get a credit card, don't get student loans, don't do. Rather than now, like I said, owning up to the fact, it was me because of wherever.
But we didn't.
And now let's go ahead and fix it.
But I think that they didn't. And I think this is the problem.
Right.
It was more about the irresponsibilities of credit. Nobody knew how to fix it.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't, that's why they were saying don't get credit, because now you're about to go into a hole that we don't know how to get you out of. Yeah. This whole fixing credit thing is a new thing in the black community. We weren't talking about this. Why? No, but that's what I'm talking about. Well, you're talking about why to a system that we didn't create. Right. I can't tell you what the author was thinking when they wrote the book. Right. I can only know the product of the book. And so that's what we're talking about, people who created a system. We're talking about the forefathers of our country. Right. When the system was created, was saying that credit is going to be the new, is going to become the new slave to credit. Well, they knew that at the beginning.
Right. But now that we know, it's time to have these conversations and now change the dialogue.
But I think that we are now, but now people are saying, oh, well, and this is what happened. Oh, the black community is late to the conversation. Yeah. We are having it now, and I know we're having it now because I got a 700 plus credit score. So that's how I know that. No, that's how I know that. No, but that's what I'm saying. I know that we have it because 2 years ago, I didn't have a credit score. Right. And so I know we're having the conversation. But people didn't talk about it because they didn't know how to fix it. They didn't know how to build credit. They just knew that there was these systems out there that would allow you to purchase things if you didn't have the money on you. And they didn't know that paying it off, the ways of paying it off, or that putting the money here or strategically paying it off was a benefit to them. They didn't realize that. And so they just seen the debt and said, you know what? I'm not dealing with that. That's a headache. So guess what? You can have that credit score and all that. I'm just going to keep collecting my cash and run a system off of that. And America said, you know what? Pause on that. We're going to start going away from the paper, and we're starting to rely on this virtual currency. And now everybody's like, well, since that's the case, I got to figure out how to get my credit. And so now we're forced to talk about it. But before, when we didn't have this at the forefront, nobody cared. It was just like, don't do it. You're better off keeping your cash and managing your money properly.
So I take credit to like a different level. Like, I've been kind of researching like credit sharks and stuff. So I signed up for like the M1 Finance credit card. And it's like they have benefits with certain companies like, you know, Costco, for example. If you spend your credit card at Costco, have the money, have the money to pay it off, but you get 2.5% of your purchase in Costco stock. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that where it's like, okay, like I can actually level up, using it, stuff like that, but you got to be very disciplined with it. Cause I remember my first credit card, I just max it out and then let the interest build up and then it went to collections. You know what I'm saying? But it takes a lot of discipline. You got to pay your credit off. You got to pay, you got to use it wisely and everything. Definitely. You know what I'm saying? All of that,
And I feel like, and it's a back to your point, like I said, some people didn't know. I feel like a lot of times, a lot of us were told it by uncles and aunties and so-and-sos and just didn't do it because we didn't want the discipline. True. And so, no, I do understand that the system is bigger. Yes, all that. Okay. But, and two, all of us did have a cousin, an uncle, an auntie, somebody who might have whispered it and we missed it, or we didn't want to listen to it because we didn't want to practice the discipline. I just want what I want.
True.
And so, and yes.
But we didn't see a lot of people. We didn't see home ownership. We didn't see people going to apply for home loans. We didn't see a lot of people buying brand new cars. We didn't see all that. People were going and buying their little $1,200 bucket here and there, all that. We stayed in apartment complexes or state housing or something like that. So what I'm saying is we were in these systems that didn't call for these mechanisms. No, I'm not saying, but at the masses there was.
But everybody in my family,
we all own our homes and cars.
But that's not. But I mean, I know a bunch of black people who own houses, but that's the thing. We're talking about a small percentage of a community where most of them live like that.
Or at the disadvantage.
So most people were at the disadvantage. Everybody wasn't living like Family Matters or the Huxtables. Most people were living like the PJs. Right. And so if it being that
what I'm saying is they may have had homes,
it's the truth.
We weren't rich because, of course, my mama shopped at Goodwill for most of our stuff, or sold it, or made it, or.
But I'll tell you like this. We owned the house, but guess what? And people thought we was rich, but no, we wasn't. We bargain shop too. That's not what I'm talking about.
Right.
What I'm saying is most people weren't playing in the ball field to where they were using these things to survive, because it wasn't even a thought in your mind to say, let me get a credit card, because guess what? You got food stamps, which is taking care of your whole house. Your rent ain't that high, and you get money on the EBT card that pay for that. Like a lot of people got so comfortable in that lifestyle, getting a credit card, applying, extending myself, going to apply for a home loan, doing all these things, even getting a job. That was extra, and so
So can we say that government assistance made people lazy?
Lazy, yes, but they knew that. But now we're at a place now to where those same people. At one point, we're like, you know what? Let me get a cell phone with Sprint instead of Metro, and then they went to collections, and now they're looking at their credit score. Never had a credit card in their life, but every payment system they failed to make completely pay that, and now they're dealing with that, and now they're trying to make advances in life, and it's guess what? That's holding you back, because you can't go to no job that's paying you $70,000-$80,000 a year and not have your credit together, because the first thing they're gonna look at is like, nope, not having it, and so you're not gonna be able to advance your life.
Insurance.
Yes.
Even insurance.
They're changing that.
They are? Okay.
But
I think it depends on what state, though.
Yeah.
This state.
Yeah, this state. Yeah, because I know in other states.
But auto insurance.
Yeah, auto insurance. Yeah, auto insurance. Yeah, auto insurance. Some states. Yeah. Some states is like, no, even if you can't. We're not gonna give you auto insurance because your credit's bad, because you had a couple of things in the past that you never cleared up. And people are like, well, how can I clear it up? That company don't own it now. Now I got to pay 3 times as much. Now I'm trying to keep up. Now I'm trying to balance all these things, and I'm trying to invest, but I got to use the investment money to pay my insurance.
CreditReport.com, Credit Karma, they've been out for over a decade. I remember Credit Karma, them running commercials
all the time
in the early 2000s. Like, they've been around, but at the same time, we didn't credit. Like we said, we know people who had Comcast accounts that were voided because they weren't paid, and they didn't even know what Comcast was because they was too young to even be able to have that. Like some people's credit was wrecked before they even knew what credit was. Yes, credit repair is a new thing, but you can't, like I said last week, you can't ask a pig to climb a tree because it doesn't have the knowledge to do so. And so that's what we were doing, is we were asking people without the knowledge to do so, to handle something that they had no idea how it existed, how it came about, the history of it, or anything. And now I think we're just at a point of enlightenment. And yeah, for the past almost a year and a half or 2 years, people ain't had nothing but time. So yeah, it's been a lot of figuring some stuff out when you ain't got nothing but time. But if the pandemic didn't happen, do you think that we would be here? No, because everybody would still be in this rut of trying to figure out just life in general.
One of my biggest criticism of like
make this
my like, you know, parents' generation or whatnot is like they pushed college, right? I'm like, man, why didn't I go to trade school?
Yeah.
I would have been making $50 an hour, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like being an electrician or something, but then you go to college, accumulate all this debt. Yeah. And then a lot of times you get a job that don't pay that much to be able to pay the debt back.
Or if you're working in that field that you got a degree from in the first place.
Yeah. Well, we about to get out of here. That's the last topic of the night. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. We'll see y'all next week. Thank everybody for coming. See y'all next week. Peace.